All right. So, okay. So the question came up. How do you, the question came up. How do you know what interval is which? Okay. Well, the answer is you study them all thoroughly. But then the question came up. Well, how do you study intervals? So this is what I'll go over at this point. We'll sort of make that our departure point. One. In order to study intervals, you must know all your major scales and key signatures, every single bloody one of them. All right, including the quote-unquote hard ones that go beyond like 3 of something. Okay, you absolutely must know those because that is the basis for everything else you're going to do with intervals. All right, the major scale is the gold standard here. Now, if I may get rid of this top row here. That will be helpful. Right. Now, once you know all your major scales and key signatures, the next thing you have to study is the major scale interval set. This is the basis of all interval measurement, what I'm about to show you here. This is also on page 52 of the textbook in a slightly different form. All right. So what happens is you're measuring each degree of the major scale against the tonic. All right. So all against the tonic here, and then that's unison. So there's your C major scale, and that's the C major scale measured against its tonic. Okay? Now, the major scale interval set is as follows. The unison is perfect. Can't possibly be otherwise, because 2 are the exact same pitch, right? Okay. Then, the second is major. The third is major. The fourth is perfect. The fifth is perfect. The sixth is major. The seventh is major. And the octave is perfect. Now, you don't have to take my word for it on this because, okay, perfect unison, well, that's kind of a no-brainer, but I really shouldn't say that because C is in the C major scale and C is in the C major scale, so it's perfect. C is in the C major scale, C is in the C major scale, it's perfect. F is in the C major scale, that's demonstrated, but if you take the F major scale, you will find C natural in it. That interval is perfect, okay? We've already demonstrated G is in the C major scale. But if you write out the G major scale, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, C is also in the G major scale. Therefore, it is perfect. Okay, follow me here. All right? So those are all the perfect intervals. Now, let's look at the other ones here. D and E are clearly in the C major scale. But do you find C natural in the D major scale? No. No. Do you find C natural in the E major scale? No. No. They're both major because the upper pitch you find in the scale represented by the lower pitch, but not the other way around. So they're both major. Now let's see what happens with this. A and B are clearly in the C major scale. But do we find C natural in the keys of A major or B major? No. No. Therefore, they're both major. Okay? That's how it works. That's how it works. But in order to know that, you've got to know all those scales. We've talked about 2 sharps, 3 sharps, I'm sorry, 2 sharps, 4 sharps, 3 sharps, 5 sharps. Have to know that, okay? Now, so this is the gold standard. All other intervals are measured against perfect or major, okay? Now, if you shrink an interval by 1/2 step, a major interval shrunk by 1/2 step becomes minor. Now, this also presumes that the numerical value does not change. So, for example, a major second shrunk by a 1/2 step that is also, but still remains a second. It's smaller than major, therefore it is minor. Now, what are the 2 ways with this major second? What are the 2 ways that I could do that?
To keep it a major second?
No. To shrink it by a 1/2 step, but still make it a second.
You can take the lower note and take it down a 1/2.
Nope.
Take it up a pitch.
There you go.
The top note, you take it down.
Okay, so C sharp to D shrinks it. That's a minor second. Or you can also lower the top note, still a minor second. So you have 2 different ways of doing this. All right? So either by raising the lower pitch or lowering the top pitch, you're still shrinking it by 1/2 step. And that's where major becomes minor. Okay? Now, if you shrink a minor interval by another 1/2 step, minor then becomes diminished. All right. On the other hand, if you take a major interval and either lower the bottom pitch or raise the top pitch 1/2 step, larger than major becomes augmented. And that is the hierarchy. That's the hierarchy of interval size. You got to know that as well.
Right, because perfect can never be major or minor.
Exactly.
But it can be augmented and diminished.
Right. So what happens is if you're starting from a perfect interval, you can augment it or you can diminish it. But these are completely incompatible.
It actually makes sense though, because I couldn't see a perfect interval being major, because you have to, with the steps that you take, it would never be able to be major.
Right.
It wouldn't make any sense.
Well, the reason it doesn't make any sense is because we've discovered in a major interval, top pitch is represented in the scale of the bottom pitch, but not vice versa.
Right.
What makes an interval perfect? Each pitch is found in the major scale represented by the other pitch.
Right.
That's what makes it perfect. And that is as good a definition of perfect as I think we have, honestly. But then it's all these other derivations that are tougher, which is why I passed out that sheet. Yeah.
So say with the perfect fifth, say you have C sharp and G sharp.
C sharp and G sharp.
It would be a perfect fifth.
That's exactly right.
In the same, they're
Because
both in the same
because G sharp is found in the C sharp major scale. If there were such a thing as the G sharp major scale, well, let's take a look at that. What it would entail. Okay, now there is the G sharp major scale is what's called a theoretical scale. Why? Because it entails a double sharp. You cannot have more than 7 sharps in a key signature. However, take a look at this. G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp. There's our major tetrachord right there. Okay, then up a whole step, D sharp, E sharp. Now, we must use a double sharp for the F so that we can then go up to G sharp. Now, that's why it's a theoretical scale, because you can't have a double sharp or a double flat in a major scale, in a major key signature.
Right.
Okay, but you can certainly write that out, and it's notatable, therefore it does exist. But within the official realm of key signatures, it does not exist.
Right, because you can
Okay.
put that F.
But now, look at this. You were asking about C sharp and G sharp?
Mhm.
Okay, well, C sharp, G sharp definitely falls into the C sharp major scale. But look at this. Here's G sharp major. C sharp major falls in it. It's still perfect. So that's how that works. Okay? And again, the proof of those principles was that there was somebody in class who actually wrote out a bunch of these theoretical major scales, including double sharps and double flats, and it still worked. It still worked. Now, where it gets tricky and where there's nothing automatic about the answer is when we get into the augmented and diminished intervals, because the augmented and diminished intervals, neither pitch occurs within the major scale represented by the other pitch in the interval. Take F and B, for example. F up to B, augmented fourth. B up to F, diminished fifth. Now, F natural does not fall in the B major scale. B natural does not fall in the F major scale. Therefore, but all that tells you is that it's either going to be augmented or diminished. Which it is, you must look at the interval and you must count the half steps. There's no way around that. Okay? So that's the difference. That's the difference. You have a surefire universal means of determining a major interval, a minor interval, and a perfect interval.
Yeah, my issue is, like, I've just finally figured out, like, the key signatures.
Okay.
I took the fat cats go down to Alley's eating bread,
Mm-hmm.
and I put that with the good
B
days
greatest common factor.
Yeah, I put good days always in before friends call.
Okay.
And I kind of put them together to come out.
Okay. What was the one for flats?
BEADGCF.
Yeah. Okay. But what was your
No. With the fat cats go down to Alley's eating bread, I put the good days always in before friends call because the G.
Though that's the key signature. Those are the actual tonics.
Yeah, the G represents the F.
Oh, we must codify that. That was good
days.
days.
Do you want me to know? I'll draw it out for you how.
I'll remember better if I do it this way.
Always end.
Always end
before friends call.
Before friends call. Brilliant.
Right. And the G, if you keep the order of the fat cats go down to Alley's eating bread, G would be F, D would be F and C, A would be F, C, and G, E would be F, C, G, fat cats.
Yeah,
and so forth and so on until you get to the end of it. It's just a matter of remembering the acronyms for it.
There it is.
That's the only way that I can figure it out.
Order of sharps, order of
sharp
keys,
signatures.
Of sharp keys. You got it? You got it.
Yeah, I just have to study my flat side a little bit.
Okay.
But I have
Well, the flat side, again, Bede greatest common factor gives you the order of the flats in the key signature. In terms of
Oh, I know what it is. For breakfast.
Whoa. Let's get it here. Let's get it. Okay. For
breakfast. Eat a dark.
Eat a dark.
Good cereal. And that is the order of the flats. When you put B, G, C.
Damn, that's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Congratulations. We've got it now. For breakfast, eat a dark good cereal. I happen to do that. The peel off that I eat in the morning, it just happens to.
It's good for you.
Well, yeah. Well, it's actually a combination. I've come up with this combination of brown rice, quinoa, amaranth, and either wild rice or black rice.
I've never heard of quinoa and amaranth.
Okay, well, they're both ancient grains. You can get them at Whole Foods. Read up on them. They are really good for you.
Say that again.
Okay, quinoa and amaranth.
Quinoa and amaranth.
Here they are. Quinoa and amaranth. Amaranth. Okay, I need a photo op here because now we got it. The final, after all the years that I have been teaching this. Somebody finally comes up with.
Well, I didn't come up with it.
Who came up with it?
Well, one of Blessing's friends, she's a piano teacher, and she kind of came up with it. So Blessing, we had a study group one Saturday, and Blessing called her because we were like so stumped on the key signatures. And when she gave it to us, I couldn't figure it out. So what I did was I went home and I did the key signatures myself, and I took the Good Days Always End Before Friends Call, and I put it with the F, C, G, D, A, and B. Then I did the same thing with the flats. And I said, wow, this makes it easy because
There you go. There you go.
I have something to remember.
There you go. No, finally, we've got something here. All right, I will use this from now on. Congratulations. Well done. Okay. Okay, that doesn't get you an A, but this is important because now you see you're working with this stuff and you're trying to find the patterns in it, and by God, it worked. There you go.
I think my biggest problem is I have no problem with the interval sets. I just have to memorize the half steps, so I will know, like when I count my half steps, if it's going to be major, minor, augmented, or diminished.
Right. And you see, ultimately, and this is the thing that dismays everybody, ultimately, there is no other surefire way to know how large an interval is except by counting half steps. It's the only way. Those universal principles, yeah. If you know your major and perfect intervals really, really well and know them in all keys, then you can apply those. But otherwise, count them on the keyboard. Count the half steps. And here, once again, it's 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12. Yeah. There's no way around knowing those. Okay. But that was the nature of the thing that I sent around to everybody. In fact, right before this session. Okay, but in terms of the I forget what these are called. The anagrams or something like that. I forget what they're called. But at any rate, now we've got them. Living in the dark side of good days always end before friends call. Elegant. Perfect. Yes. Okay. Is there really anything else giving you headaches?
Not really that right there. I'll wait till I take oral theory.
Well, okay, because you see the thing is, I've got to reassure everybody again. You're learning about this stuff in the abstract in this course. All right. This is the alphabet. It's all alphabet. You don't know how to read it yet. That's what we do in oral theory. You don't know how to write it yet. That's what we do in harmony. Because harmony is the grammar, and oral theory is actually where the literacy happens. Yeah. So and the thing is, both of those courses, we review all this stuff.
I know. And
we approach it from a slightly different angle. But the fact of the matter is, we do review all of it. We don't just throw you in the deep end. So I'm supposed to remember all of this. In fact, the syllabus for both courses have a listing on the last page. This is what you have to be on. This is what you have to know from Music 100 in order to be able to be successful. And if you don't, go back and study it. But there's going to be loads of opportunity to reinforce it. There really is.
Professor Billy gave me a
Okay.
suggestion too. He said, the easiest way to learn your scales is to play them.
Yes.
If you don't play them, you'll never. You can remember the lettering for it.
Tactile memory. Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah. And that's why one of these years we're going to turn 100 and 101 into a 4-credit course that requires both.
Yeah, I think I love your 100. I love all my classes with you, but 100 I think is a class that should not last for just like an hour and 20 minutes.
I'm not sure that a 3-hour version of this would help you anyone.
3 hours. I'd say like an hour and 45 minutes.
Hour 45, closer to 2 maybe.
Yeah, because at least for an hour you can teach, and then for the rest of the time you can find out who didn't really catch it.
Yeah, well, yeah, there is that too. Yeah, I mean, there's loads of ways of doing this, and I can see where that would work out very nicely. Well, the thing is, there are some folk, unfortunately, there are some folk who find it difficult to fill up even an hour and a half on this stuff. I'm not one of those people, you've noticed. Yeah. Well, but the reason for that is because I'm a composer, I'm an arranger, I'm a conductor. I work with this stuff. I work with notation literally every day of my life. That's where my knowledge of it comes from. It's also the fact that I've been teaching it for a long time too. And when it comes to theory courses, no matter how many ways I've seen for people to get this stuff wrong, every time I teach a new course, I also see a new way for somebody to get this stuff wrong. So I'm constantly trying to figure out, how to short circuit getting stuff wrong. And one can never do it, but I'm a little more accomplished at it than I used to be. Let's put it that way. Well, that was the thing. That was where the thing about 6 spaces on the staff came from. Because, we said about the combination of people here, all right, there are 4 spaces on the staff, and anything that isn't on the staff, you use ledger lines. Well, that was the thing where I was seeing people early in Music 100 doing that or that. Because as far as they were concerned, well, that's not on the staff, so therefore they require ledger lines, and it just ain't so. So that was when I started teaching. There are 6 spaces. There are 4 in the staff, but another 2 on the staff. And remember, the proof of that was in the treble clef, key signature for A major.
Right, you have to.
Yeah, because if that's not a space, that's not legal. Similarly, bass clef, 7 flats. If that's not a space on the staff, that's not legal. That's your proof. See, that's your proof that there are 6 spaces on the staff. And a lot of people sort of sneer at me.
There are a million ways to do something wrong, and there's only one way to do it right.
Well, actually, no. In music, there are a number of ways you can do things correctly, and that bothers some people. The fact that there are, and especially when we get into harmony, there are multiple right answers a lot of the time. There's more than one right way to do something, and that disturbs people.
But the wrong way is taking shortcuts.
Well, that's
when you taught us that with the intervals, and I tried to do my shortcuts with learning it, I said the only way for you to do this probably is to count the letter value and count the half steps.
That's
if
it.
you don't do that, you're not going to get this. It's going to always be wrong. You can try to do whatever you want, but it's still going to come out wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Now, there are assists, but the assists always presume that there's something else you know very solidly. That's the difference. Okay? All right. Feeling better about going into this final? A little. A little. Yeah. Well, don't forget, exam number 6, I'm only counting it for people who got a B or higher, which I neglected to mention. Today. Yeah, because why should I penalize they who know that stuff, really? But there were enough people who did not do well on that one that I decided, okay, we can, I can be gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in loving kindness that way.
Well, I think I deserve my grade because I didn't study my key signatures like I should have. And I didn't learn that till the day after we had our test.
Ooh.
And I was like, wow. Man,
okay. I'll have to send this around. around.
I sat down like for 2 hours doing that. I did not get any rest until I figured that out. Because the key signatures and the major scales, the major scales are easy because you start on the note, you count your half steps, and you pretty much figure out which one's
well, as long as you know how the major tetrachord works, separated by a whole step, you got it.
Right.
You got it. And there were so many people who didn't construct them using the tetrachord system. And it's very easy to get bollocksed if that happens.
It's whole, half whole, then the whole step between the 4th and 5th. And then it's whole, half whole for the last part.
Yeah.
And the last 4 are the beginning of the next.
Are the beginning of the next scale. Yeah. Beginning of the next scale up. That's
I'm
right.
glad we didn't discuss minors.
No. Sometimes that happens. Honestly, I can't imagine discussing minors in this course. I can't imagine that. Because, well, partly because the truth about the minor mode is in no textbook that I've ever seen. That comes with both aural theory and harmony 1, but I explain it slightly differently for those two. Yeah, everything you know about the minor mode is probably wrong. And it's mostly the fault of piano pedagogy, actually. Because I will simply say that there are things you must learn when you're learning how to play the piano that in fact don't happen in real music.
Say it again.
Yeah, there are minor scales that you must learn when you're studying keyboard that do not in fact happen in real music.
But based on what you said, you probably need to learn that.
You do need to learn them. You do need to learn them, but it's more a matter of piano pedagogy.
I feel your brain. It feels mine. It's a lot. I was telling, like, Venus she's like my homegirl, and they came.
I noticed. Yeah.
They came over to my house on Sunday for dinner. Her and
Cool.
her friend.
Cool.
So we had a conversation, and I told her, I said, you know, because she wants to be a psychiatrist, and I told her, I said, music has always been my thing, and I'm like 33 years old, and I'm finally getting able to learn it. And if you don't have a passion for it, you're not gonna learn it. You have to really have a passion for the whole thing of music, because music is like the center of the universe when it comes to everything else that we do.
Yeah.
It revolves around music.
Yeah. My job is to see if I can get that fire lit. You see, that's my job. And that's the job of anybody who takes music seriously and who teaches. The idea is to get that fire lit, and if you can get that fire lit, then you have done what you set out to do.
Okay, I have a question about ensemble.
So ensemble, yeah.
What I was telling you this morning about finding a concert.
Okay, I'm gonna send around, because I sent around a couple of YouTube links to a few people. I'm going to send them to the entire class, because there seem to be a lot of people who've had trouble finding concerts.
Yeah, it's like last year I went to 4 ensemble concerts just because they were free. I wanted to go. I didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah, okay.
And Professor Skill, I took her course not last year, the year before that, and they were doing a lot of free concerts, but I guess the economy's so far down now, they're just like, we can't just offer free concerts.
Well, yeah, okay. Anyway, what I'll do is there were a couple of videos on YouTube that I suggested for both 105 and choir. I'll send those around to everybody, because again, apparently there are people who having trouble with these. So I'll take care of it. All right. So you've got it all here. It's 28 minutes worth. So
I'm gonna send it to everybody today.
okay. Where's the sign-in sheet? Here we go. Around everybody. Let's see, I think the only people okay, right. The only person that I haven't met is Mr. Williams Packard. I did?
Yeah, I mean, Paul Glaze, Mr. Park Glaze, you know.
Okay, that only means once when you actually signed into when we got into the program. I mean, you haven't had any classes with me yet.
No.
Okay, well, that's sort of more what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah. If you're a performance major or sound recording major, yes, our paths have crossed. All that. Okay. So let me go over the contents of the syllabus, because there are a number of technological additions that are going into effect this summer that hopefully will make life easier for everyone. We'll see what happens. Okay, first of all, you're all here, we're in this room, and that kind of thing. you've already met me. My office is just around the corner. I've got my office phone here. If you reach me when I'm there in my office, then my office phone will do you good. If not, I have a Google Voice message line, and some of you have already taken advantage of that, where you can leave me a phone message, and I will not only get your phone message, but I will get a push that you've called, and not only that, but I will also get a text transcription of your message, which is really pretty amazing, and I'll be able to figure it out from there. All right. I am keeping kind of loose office hours over the course of summer one. It's basically 10:30 to 11:30, not 111:30. It's 11:30. If you want to come see me, make an appointment. That's the best thing to do. And generally speaking, I won't be here after 3 o'clock, on a regular basis. But if you need to see me after class, make an appointment and do that. My email address is here, and I've also provided my Twitter account so that you can message me there if you want. So, yeah.
She's everywhere.
Well, that kind of thing, direct message, things like that. Well, we're supposed to be tech savvy around here, so that's what goes on. All right. There is a required textbook. This is the required textbook, Music for Sight Singing, the 9th edition by Rogers and Ottman. If you have an 8th edition of this, or can get an 8th edition more quickly or inexpensively, that will suffice. That will suffice. What's that?
How much is it?
Too much. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. I was supposed to order this, I didn't put your book order in.
That's nonsense because I gave it to someone directly.
Yeah,
In fact, I gave it to the manager of the bookstore.
Yeah, I know you didn't do that, so I'm like, okay, this is weird, something's up.
All right, I'm going to have to go crack heads down here.
Please do.
I'm despair.
Can you tell me the edition and the author?
9th edition, it's all in syllabus.
In the first
It's all in syllabus.
This is like right on my face right now. I'm looking at it.
Yeah. All right. So, at any rate, okay, the point is we will have plenty to do until the books arrive. There's no question about that. So, more about that coming up. So the textbook you will need, but there are also going to be additional materials both in print and audio that will be coming from me in one form or another. More about that later on. Now, let's see. For those of you who are sort of on the old-fashioned side, we also recommend some sort of keyboard. Now the thing is, you're taking a music course. That means you have access to the practice rooms back here. But if you don't have one at home, and you can get a toy electronic, something like that, maybe $10. I've seen them at drugstores. Just as long as you can get at least 12 chromatic pitches out of it, it's fine, but you are going to need this. Or if you own a smartphone or a tablet, there are any number of keyboard apps available. Some of them are free, others have more things connected with them. So keyboard access is essential, and you're going to need that in order to be able to keep up with things here. Now, those of you who've taken the class with me before, you already know kind of what you're in for. We are going to move fast. It is going to be intense. It is going to be demanding, all of those kinds of things. But again, you all know that, so that's not an issue. Being on time is essential. Keeping up with assignments is absolutely essential. And do use recording devices. They tend to do best who make it possible to take classes home with them. To go over again, because again, those of you who've had courses with me before, I'm a motor mouth lecturer, and but in this particular case, I'm not going to be doing as much lecturing as you are going to be working hands-on with the musical materials. I mean, that's what this course is about, and I will tell you more about that when we go through this. All right, exams. Everybody worries about exams. There's going to be a midterm exam. There's going to be a comprehensive final exam, meaning covering everything from today through when we finish. All right, there will be a written portion of the exam, including melodic dictations and also interval identification, plus
individual one-on-one performance exams. Now, the way that's going to work is this. I will have sign-up sheets. And what you're to do is, the sign-up sheets will be in 10-minute increments. You're to sign up for a 10-minute slot. You're to show up 10 minutes before that appointment. What I will do at that time is I will give you something out of the book that you have not seen before, usually a rhythmic exercise and a melodic exercise. You will have 10 minutes to prepare it. Then you come in and perform it for me. That's the performance exam. All right, and I've got a rubric on here that breaks down the grading on this. It's on the next page, so I'll go over that in a moment. Now, there are also going to be 2 midway exams, so a total of 4 exams in here. They may be performance exams, they may be written exams. It will depend on how you're doing and the progress we're making, all of that. The midterm and the final will be both written and performance. The midway exams may be one or the other, but I won't know until further in. So expect it will be both, and you may be pleasantly surprised. All right. Now, the written exams. This is this is important to know. The written exams are going to be take-homes, every single one of them, because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be learning how to transcribe rhythms and transcribe melodies. Well, in real life, it takes as long as it takes. And to try to do this within an hour and a half class session, well, 4-year schools, they'll expect you to do things like that. But when you're just starting out, and this is how I treat oral theory all the way along, is that what you will get sound files either in CDs, which are becoming increasingly old-fashioned now, aren't they? Either CDs or a set of MP3s, and a paper to go along with them. You'll have 4 days to do the dictation assignments, the written part of the exam. Then you bring it back to me. All right. So that way, however long it takes you within that time is how long it takes you. The point is to get it right. And all the way along, I'm going to be giving you tools by which you will learn how to do this. There's a system to everything, and part of what makes things like this possible is you have to have a system initially until you get to a point where where you're really on top of this stuff, and then whatever system you want, then it's just fine. Policies and rules are there's nothing different from anything else you run into here. Although I think somebody's got the file off actually. I'll make sure I get you a full list of these. But again, there should be nothing new in any of this stuff. I mean, the policies and rules they're pretty much across the board in classes here. Period. All right. The evaluations, how does this work? 4/5 of your final grade is going to be based on the exams. The other 1/5 is going to be based on everything else. Classwork assignments, class participation, do you show up on time, do you stay awake in class, all that kind of thing. Normally that only applies to borderline situations though. And understand that by the time we get to the exams, I am nothing more than a statistician. I'm simply compiling results by that point. So if you're interested in good grades in here, work like it. It's not a matter of, oh, I hope he gives me. No, it's wrong attitude. It's a matter of how well you do, how well prepared you are, how well you master this material. That's what makes it happen. All right, because as I said, I'm just running statistics by the time when it comes time to grades, and that's true of just about everything that I'm involved in. So, all right. Now, the grading specifics for the performance exams. This is how it's going to work. Okay. Each of these criteria, that's the basis on whether you get an A, a B, a C, a D, or a fall down, go boom. Right? So A work, I take these categories literally. If you read a melody or rhythmic passage accurately given only an opening pitch or tempo, you do it the first time or second time, no prompts or assists from me, that's A work. That's professional. That's what professionals do when they sight read. A B is reading one of these things given only 1 or 2 prompts. A C is more than 2 prompts. A D is if you can only read it accurately if I'm helping you. And if you still can't do that, that's when, that's the end, basically. All right. Written exams, generally 100-point exams, and I generally do not grade on curves in this class. So, unlike some other things you may have run into before. All right. Now, lots of stuff under the high-tech additions here. And actually, I need to change this somewhat because the college is going from the MyCCP system, it's supposed to be changing over, like starting now, to this new system called Canvas LMS. And Canvas is actually a system designed for delivering online courses. Now, this is not an online course, it's never going to be an online course, but it has flexibility and it has capabilities in terms of my being able to communicate with you cybernetically, you're being able to communicate with me cybernetically, and also in terms of what exactly I can post on a course homepage, which is greatly improved from what it used to be. All right. Now, I already have a homepage set up for this, and now that the course is what they call published, you should see in your CCP emails an invitation to join. Okay, that is an invitation to join the class. Now, you've paid for it already, so this is an invitation you should not decline. And what will happen is, presumably from that email, you will get a set of step-by-step instructions as to exactly how to sign on. You basically sign on to Canvas, you sign up for Canvas once, and it's good for however long you're here. You don't have to keep doing it over and over again for each individual course. Now, I'm also just learning the ropes on this as well, because this is brand new. I've been to a couple of training sessions on this. It's a very deep program. And there's a lot of capabilities that it has, and I am nowhere near fully conversant with them all yet. But I will be working on that over the course of things. The main thing that I'm hoping this will be able to do is allow me to post not only exercise files, that is stuff that I'm going to be handing out in class anyway, but also audio drills. I've got you're going to be getting, in terms of additional materials for this class, you're going to be getting what I call a vocabularium. And what that's going to do is there's a separate rhythm vocabularium which breaks down all of the possible combinations of the whole note, the half note, the quarter note, and 3/4 time and 3/8 time, plus triplets. It's all codified rhythmically. These are things where if you can learn all of this stuff, you will be able to read anything, just about, short of the stuff that you're going to run into in Oral Theory 3. You'll be able to read 90% of common music rhythmically. You learn all of this stuff. There is also a pitch vocabulary. Every single solfeggio syllable combination for every interval within the octave, from half steps, whole steps, all the way up to sevenths, including the tritones, everything else, including all of the weird combinations that you don't often run into. They're all taken into account. Again, this is where you learn how to read music. There's an awful lot of time spent on scalar stuff. Well, scalar stuff is important, but scalar stuff is also not how normal music works. Normal music uses more than just scales. So there is vocabulary that you need to have in order to be able to do that. I will provide it all for you. And this will be the stuff that I'm going to be giving out in this vocabulary. It's going to be good for this course, and it's going to be good for 113, and it will be good for Oral Theory 3 as well if you're going straight through on this. So it will be all there. This textbook is good for all 3 Oral Theory classes. We use the same thing in Oral Theory 2. We use the same thing in Oral Theory 3. So one book purchase, it's good for all 3 courses. So, so if you break down the cost into 3 courses, it's not nearly as expensive as it might look, but that's economics. That's not Oral Theory. Anyway, so in terms of signing up for Canvas without an invitation email. I have on, let's see, this is sort of like page 3 here, pages 2 and 3. It will give you additional information on the capabilities of Canvas. For example, if you do most of your email correspondence on Facebook rather than through CCP email, you can hook up your Facebook account so that it receives emails from me for this course. If most of your correspondence is on Twitter, you can do it there. If you're on LinkedIn, you can do it there. There are a couple of other social networking sites that will link into Canvas directly. I mean, this is unprecedented in terms of consciousness of what is beyond the walls of academia. I mean, I'm amazed at all of this stuff. So the thing is, you can link any of those social networking accounts into this particular course, so that no matter where you are, I can still reach you, and you can still reach me. So that's the important part of this, because I will be doing all kinds of corresponding with you, as I update files and all of that kind of thing. So I've handed out, I've handed out 13. So at any rate, to sign up for or sign into Canvas, I've given you a link here. I can send this around via email so that it's an actual link instead of simply in print. The access to Canvas is on the distance education page for the college. So that's where you reach it for that. Once you get to that page, there is a quick start guide link that you simply you simply follow the link that is the second one on here. Now, if you have difficulties, student help desk, that's what they're there for. But if a lot of you have trouble with this, let me know, because that means there's probably something wrong with the interface of the system, or something they didn't set up correctly, and I need to be able to report that to them. It's also fortunate, we're also very fortunate that a recent graduate from our non-performance program actually works for instruct.com, instructure.com. Let's see, those of you who inquire, you will probably remember Erin Murphy. Well, she works for them. So I have somebody I can go to immediately and say, yo, what's up with this? So that's especially helpful. Now, so be on the course homepage regularly. Keep up with email communications, announcements, et cetera, because there are things that may happen in between classes. Even though, you're going to be here 4 days a week. Even so, the updates that I'll be doing will be afternoon or early evening mostly. So so do be looking in here regularly for additional file stuff like that. I have already posted a PDF of the syllabus there, so it's there, it's ready to go for you, and it is it's simply an electronic copy of this. I don't know if that one actually has the rest of the policies and rules on it, but I'll get that. I'll get that to you. Now, there's an additional website that you need to know about, and if you took Music 100 with me, or you've taken other theory courses with me, this is going to be one of your best friends ever. www.musictheory.net. Now, everything we talk about, there are instruction modules at musictheory.net. If there's anything about intervals, anything about rhythm, anything about scales, anything about triads, anything about notation, it's there. It's there. You need to review. Now, what's important for this course is not just the review modules, but there is also something called interval trainer. Now, this is something with which you need to get acquainted immediately, because this is where you're going to be working with this stuff when you're not in class. Now, the thing is, there are two different versions of this site, and as a matter of fact, through the site, you can actually talk to the guy who invented it. His name is Richie Adams. I asked him, this was during Music 100 last semester, asked him specifically if there were Android apps in the offing for this particular website. Turns out there aren't at the moment. There are two iOS applications available for this. One is called, and they break down in terms of what they actually are. This is for iOS. One is called Theory Lessons, which is all the instructional modules that I was just talking about. And then the other one is called Tenuto. Okay. And Tenuto has all of the the drill packages in it. Recognizing intervals by sight, recognizing intervals by sound, pitch identification, all of that kind of thing. Tenuto takes up all of those. Now, if you are running Android OS, you have to go to the website proper. Sorry. If he's petitioned by enough people, it's entirely possible he may develop Android apps for these. But at any rate, this is how you work this stuff outside of the classroom, in addition to all the stuff I'm going to give you. And it is absolutely essential that you get in the habit of working with this stuff every single day by whatever means. Because you see, what's happening is Music 100, what that course was about was teaching you the musical alphabet. That's all it was. Just the alphabet, what the letters of the alphabet are, and sort of some sounds that go with it, all of that kind of thing. Here is where you're going to learn how to read for real. All right? And it's harmony class where you learn the grammar. That's really what it's about. The whole business about, well, music is a language. That is true. Not in the ways that people generally think about it, because the problem with music, and the reason why it's so bloody difficult once you start getting into it, is because it's true, it is a language, but it has no analog between anything we speak and itself. There is no analog in either the written system or the spoken system, the speech part, if you will, that corresponds to any human language at all, right? It is abstract sound and making sense out of abstract sound, all right? Now that's tough to deal with. That's why we have courses and degrees and stuff like this. But we will, I will give you everything you need to cope with this. But the thing is, you are going to have to put in the effort as well or make this happen. And believe me, and if you don't believe me, just wait until we get to the first exam in maybe 2.5 weeks from now. Yeah, that's how fast they're going to come up. It's a 7-week course, so everything is compressed. And the exams are going to come up a lot sooner than you'll want them to. And sort of like, well, if you're prepared, if you prepare yourself now, it won't be nearly so dismaying. Okay? But they will happen, and they are going to be rapid fire. All right. Now, I'll say this as well. Musictheory.net. There are two different versions of it. There's the sort of the current one that you get to when you go directly there. There should be a button somewhere on the home page for the current edition that says something like classic version. And what I'll do is I'll see if I can get some screenshots and post them for you so you can see what to look for. Because the classic version of the interval trainer in particular shows you a scoring breakdown. It shows you exactly what you got right and what you didn't get right, and how many, not just a percentage of, well, you got 87% of these correct, but you don't know which ones were wrong and which ones they were, or how you got them wrong, okay? But the classic version, there is there is an actual score reporting system, and that's the one I'm interested in you're working with in terms of daily assignments and stuff like that. And as we start talking about intervals,
I'll expect you to be working on this stuff daily. Daily. Yes, ma'am?
I don't mean to talk, super asking, just want to make sure, clarify. I understand it doesn't matter what platform you're on, you go to the website, right? But for the two apps you mentioned, let's see, those are for Apple.
They're iOS only.
They're only iOS.
Yeah, there are no Android versions of these apps.
And no PC version.
Okay, well,
I'm on a PC. So
okay, well, PC, well, the thing is, whether on a Mac or on a PC, you would go to these, you would go to the website anyway.
Right.
Yeah, these are only, this is all that's available for mobile devices.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, you know, when I say okay, clearly iOS is not as
I mean, it's
universal
Apple,
a term as I thought.
But you mean for the phone specifically?
Yeah, phone or a tablet, if you're lucky enough to own an iPad or work on there too.
Well, that's Apple stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, but the thing is, if you're on a desktop machine or a laptop or something like that, you just go straight to the website.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's all there. It's all cross-platform. Yes, sir.
The Tenuto is only for your iPhone or your iPad or iPod?
No. They work for iPhone or iPad.
Well, yeah, that's all. The Tenuto
But
is
this
not.
this is the trainers. This is the ear training stuff.
Right, the
This is
Tenuto
the-
is not. You can't access Tenuto from online though. Like if you go into your browser on the internet page.
That's where you get. It's all here. It's all here.
So I was asking,
Yeah, it's just that he broke this down into two apps for Apple products. That's all. Okay. So if you own that hardware, it's money well invested. Because I carry both of these on here just for reference. So all that kind of thing. Okay. So we'll go from there. All right. Okay. Questions so far? Why me is not appropriate. You all signed up for this, right? Okay. But you know about that anyway. All right. Now, what this course is going to cover. All right. Now take heart. We are going to review Stuff to Music 100 fast, speedily. All right. Including pitch names and locations, treble-based clefs, note and rest values, intervals by numeric value and quality, that kind of thing. I will introduce you to the movable do syllable system. There was one page on that in the book in Music 100. I'm going to take you much further than that. Interval vocabulary, all chromatic intervals within the octave up to sixths. No tritones yet. That's oral theory 2. You need to be able to identify intervals in any octave or register, and that includes clef, and you need to be able to sing them both up and down. People can go up without too much difficulty. It's learning how to go down. That's the big problem. Well, you're going to work that too. That's part of what this vocabularium I'm going to give you is all about. You're going to get practice doing that. Okay. You need to be able to identify them harmonically and or melodically. You need to be able to identify them both ways. Rhythmic vocabulary is going to be down to 16th note divisions of the beat, and we will look at compound meter divisions as well. Let's see, sight singing, melodies, major keys only at this point. You're going to have plenty to do in terms of major keys. But in treble clef and in bass clef, doesn't matter what clef you normally sing in, you have to be able to cope with both, right? And in terms of rhythms, rhythmic vocabulary, you need to be able to sight read rhythms, you need to be able to identify rhythms, all that kind of thing. Turn the page, we're not done yet. Dictation. In four-year schools, the whole business of being able to write music down as you hear it is considered to be the other side of the coin in terms of being able to sight read. If you can sight read, then that means you can hear stuff and write it down. Or if you can hear stuff and write it down, that means you can sight read. People like me know better. They're two completely different skill sets. But my job will be to give you the systems by which you can do that. And we're going to start off very simply. In fact, those of you who took my Music 100 class got an introduction to that. If you remember the tick line system, well, you're going to be very well acquainted with that tick line system very shortly. And those of you that weren't exposed to that, well, you will be. There's a system for melodic dictation as well. That is identifying pitches as they go. We're going to start identifying strings of pitches without rhythmic values.
And then finally you put rhythm and pitch together. Again, there I will show you a system by which you can do this. And for right now, just starting out, this will be a lot more time than you will normally get at a 4-year school. 4-year schools, the rule of thumb is however many measures long an exercise is, that's how many times you're going to hear it, plus 1 to make sure you have it. So, to measure example, you would hear it a total of 3 times, period, and that's it. Right? That's what's expected of you at 4-year schools. And in fact, that's stuff like this will show up on placement exams in most 4-year schools, as a matter of fact. That is, in other words, you'll be expected to come in knowing how to do this stuff. So that's, my job is to get you ready for that. Okay, now, lots of sight singing. How many of you have never sung before? I know some of you already have. So, but then, nobody. Good. That's a good thing. Okay, yeah. Okay. Further back in the room won't help you. You're going to be part of this anyway. Yeah. Yes. Now, you're going to be performing in groups and performing individually. On the exams, you're going to be performing individually. You will have to sing by yourself in this class. Now, those of you who are voice majors, that will not be an issue. For everybody else, we'll get you ready for it. I also recommend pair up with somebody, work with somebody on this. Some of you have already gotten that down to a science, and that's a good thing. I strongly encourage you to be, hook up with a study partner on this stuff. Okay, the midterm exam will be sometime during the week of the 30th of May. It may go over into the first week of June. I'm still not 100% sure. Again, the school, school is closed on the 27th. That's Memorial Day observed, so I gotta fix that too. Now, any assignments you get, I will give at the end of class for the following session. Normally, I would list assignments in other syllabi. I don't do that here for the simple reason that it's way too variable in terms of how quickly or not we move. So if you have to miss a class for any reason, make absolutely sure that you get notes from someone, or have someone actually record the class for you. In fact, probably talk to Bobby here, who's doing that even as we speak. Okay, he's got good video and audio here.
I gotta see it and hear it at the same time.
Okay, well then fine. Fine. No, that's what we're about.
Can you email videos? Because I'm gonna be gone for a week, and that might be perfect if I can see the.
I'm gonna have to send it to you Dropbox.
Put it on that class website.
Okay. Well, he won't be able to do that, but if you have Dropbox links, that would be great. Okay, that would be good. That would be good. And the thing is, I want to collect them up too, because eventually we could, first of all, I need to be observed if I expect to get promoted someday. And the other thing is also being able to, see what I'm doing, what works, what doesn't work, things like that. And that's another thing. If you're having trouble with something, talk to me. Don't believe that, maybe I'll get it at some point. No, you won't. Believe me. If there's something with which you're having trouble, and some of you are very good about coming to see me regularly, so you're having trouble. Yeah, and let me know, because that's what I'm here for. Even if we had music department tutors, which I still have to sort of hammer away at that, we still during the summer that doesn't happen. So unfortunately, I'm the only person you can come to unless you have to catch Professor Miller here, who also teaches this. So if for some reason you're afraid of me, you can go see him. But if you're afraid of both of us, that's going to be a big problem, obviously. So, nothing to fear. Nothing to fear. Just because we're intense doesn't mean we're intimidating, things like that. All right. Now, last page. This is very, very important. Okay. Those of you who have taken Music 100 with me know the following. All music theory study is cumulative. Right. Every drop of stuff from Music 100 you are going to need to have at the front of your brain for this. Okay, so the Music 100 course content. In other words, what you're supposed to know coming into this class, in terms of total vocabulary, all names of pitches in the treble and bass clef, including ledger lines above and below, and how to manage ledger lines as well. All major scales and key signatures. We do not deal with the minor mode in this class. We will deal with that plenty in Aural Theory 2. You're going to have enough to do. just dealing with the major mode at this point. All intervals and how to measure them. That is all numerical values from unisons all the way up through octaves at least, and the 5 principal flavors of them: major, minor, augmented, diminished, and perfect. You need to know your triads and inversions. We're going to be working with that a little bit. We'll be working with it a lot more in oral theory too, but you need to know what a root position triad is. You need to know what a first inversion is. You need to know what a second inversion is. Why? Because all of these have melodic implications. It's not just a matter of studying harmony. It's a matter of this stuff occurs in melodies as well. And if you can recognize this stuff, then suddenly you don't have to go looking at intervals. You go, oh, it's just second inversion, C major, that's easy. So you sing that and then you go on to the next thing. All right. The formal names of the scale degrees and their respective triads, we'll go over that again. Now, rhythm vocabulary. You have to know how whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, and 16th notes and their respective rests. You have to know how all of those work. You also have to know how basic triplets work. We're not doing tuplets beyond triplets at this point. We get into more of those come oral theory 2. You need to know how simple and compound meter works, and a little bit about additive and irregular meters. But again, we're not going to run into all that much of that in this course. You'll see more of that in oral theory 2. Oral theory 3, you're going to be dealing with additive and irregular meters a lot. So, and the point is, the reason we offer these in the summer is you start now, go straight through oral theory 2 and then oral theory 3 in the fall. You will have no time to forget anything. There's only going to be like a week in between classes. Okay, so that's the whole point of this. And because if you wait a semester and you're not otherwise regularly engaged in music making or working with the notation or working with the materials directly, you're going to forget stuff, and then you're going to come in and it's going to feel like lost in the wilderness without a compass until you get reoriented, all that kind of thing. So the idea is that be able to go straight through, and everything is going to get reinforced all the time. All this. So that is what you're in for, ladies and gentlemen. Questions? You're all in stunned silence. Oh my God, what have I gotten myself into here? Yeah.
I don't have a question.
Yeah.
If anybody needs, like, when we took 100, we had some problems remembering the key signatures and the intervals, and we had a study session, and Blessing gave me something, and I couldn't figure it out, so I figured it out on my own, and I gave it to Professor Ross. So the key signatures, there's a chart for the key signatures, and there's a chart that shows you how to figure out.
Yes, what we call mnemonics. That is, if we're talking about the treble clef, for example, the names of the pitches. All right, every good barrister decries fraud.
What?
I find it much better than the usual one. And this is more current. This is more current. Every good barrister decries fraud. Right?
Barrister in 50 years.
Okay, well,
Oh God!
in England, it's what you're called if you're a lawyer. So at any rate, that's called a mnemonic. That's called a mnemonic. It's spelled this way. That is assigning words that make sense to each of those initials. So that's how you remember it. All right. Now, here's my first question. Let me hear from people who have not taken Music 100 with me. How many spaces are there on the staff?
6.
I mean people who did not take it.
So, sorry.
Yeah. Right, that's right. There are 6 spaces. How many of you were taught 4? How many of you were taught 4 spaces on the staff? Okay. Well, that's the quote-unquote conventional wisdom. And what do they spell?
Face.
Face. You don't know, that's a problem. Right. However, these are the spaces in the staff. There are 2 additional ones on the staff. That is on the staff, but not in the staff. So is this. So, how do you remember them? the name of a DJ, of a gangster DJ.
Oh my.
Deface G.
Hey, that works.
Works, doesn't it? Yeah. See, you think I don't know about this stuff, right? Okay, so, okay, these are on the staff. They're not in the staff, but they're on the staff. Let's do base clef while we're at it. Okay, it's a variant on here. What are the names of the lines?
Good days always in before friends call. I'm sorry. Don't do that.
Well, let's start with the initials. G,
I really should.
E, D, F,
A.
A.
Okay.
Good barristers decry fraud always. Just a variant on it, right? Okay. All right. Now,
All counts eat grass.
I
right.
would say HG cars again.
But if you take the other spaces into account, face Great Britain. Face Great Britain.
Facebook.
Whatever. It doesn't matter as long as you remember. And the point is, what's even more important, at this point, you can't still be counting on your fingers which space and which line is which. You gotta know these.
About chicken eating good.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, right? So, important stuff, you've gotta know this. All right. That's a
G clef.
G clef.
G clef or treble clef, that's a, all right. What have I now created? Grand staff, exactly right. Okay.
Well, technically,
Which is badly proportioned, but still. Okay, all right. I'll go from there. This is a what?
bar line.
It is now a what? Systemic bar line. Very good. Excellent. Yes.
I forgot about that.
If a bar line runs through more than one staff, we call it a systemic bar line. What systemic do we have now? That is not a final bar. That is a double bar.
Oh, my bad.
Right.
Now what do we have? That is a final bar. Do not confuse the two. All right? There is no text. You see, the textbook we were using in Music 100 used the same name for each of these. You are not to do so. There is a difference between a double bar and a final bar. All right? You must know that difference. Okay. Now, all right. That's a,
Flat.
that is a,
Sharp. Oh, natural. I thought you were going to go sharp. I'm sorry, it's natural.
never presume what's gonna happen. That is part of the skills of sight reading. You never know what's gonna come next. Just because that's usually followed by a sharp doesn't mean it always will be. Okay, that is a natural, right? This is a
Sharp.
That's a sharp.
This is a what?
Double sharp.
That's a double sharp. This is
Double
double
flat.
flat. Okay, that's it. There's no other way to do that. Or a sort of a
A Nazi symbol.
no, no. That's the other thing that looks like a double sharp, sort of a bold-faced X.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, no. Nazi swastika is very simple. It's very different. We don't do that here. Ever. Right?
So that was also a double sharp?
Yeah, double sharp. This is an older version of it. This is what you're more likely to see nowadays. Okay? Let's see here. All right. Some other things here. That's a
Whole note.
whole note. How long is a whole note? No, it is not. Or say it again.
Never use the word beat when it comes to a note.
Or quarter notes or 2 half notes. That is the length of a whole note.
Patience is the key, my friend.
No, but honestly speaking,
That is
he broke it down.
Now, explain this to me. Explain this to me. Why is that not 4 beats?
Because you don't know your time signature.
Because we don't have a time signature. Yeah. What if the half note gets the beat? Then how long is the whole note?
You can't use them.
You said what?
Okay. If the time signature tells us that the half note gets the beat, then how long is that whole note?
2 beats, exactly.
2/4 beats.
No, it does not last 2 quarter notes.
Okay, last is 2 half.
It lasts 2 half notes, but if we have a time signature with 2 at the bottom, that means the half note gets the beat. Therefore, 2 beats, you were right. Okay? So,
Hold on.
in terms of time signatures, X over Y, X always equals what?
Number of beats in the measure.
Number of beats
Then you can't use them,
in the measure,
right?
and Y always equals,
Oh, yeah, you could, depending on,
okay, note value,
no, it was actually.
Receiving.
Depending on what the top number is, if it was like one of the.
1 beat.
it's like it was
Right.
2.
You can't always count on that either, as you're gonna find out. Yeah,
You mean with?
okay, you don't like it? Tough. It's gonna get worse.
Compound
Well,
meters
that's
are
to
like
do with
that.
compound, or not compound, but.
Yeah, compound meter.
Well, compound meter, but also
Really?
like, when it changes to, I don't know.
Mhm, yeah, exactly, so that's another story, but, you know, this is not an absolute, okay? This generally applies to time signatures, but it's always a number over another number. Now, Y must always be either 1 or a multiple of what?
2.
2.
Yeah.
It can be 1 or multiple
Y'all so weird.
of 2. Yes. You cannot put a 3 or a 6 or a 5 or anything else down there. It must be a multiple of 2. Yes, but there's no such thing as a 6th note. Because there's also a 3 involved, you see. So that's part of it. Okay, nice try. Okay, but X can be any number 1 or higher. And there are instances where if there is no time signature, if there's a situation where music is what we call aleatory, no specific beat, then generally there will be no time signature at all. All right? Or some of you may recall when we sang at the church in Newtown, there were examples in the church bulletin where there was no specific time signature. Why?
Because you pronounce it based upon the syllables.
Yeah,
Gregorian
and
chant, right? Yeah. Well, it was based off of, wasn't it? Like Gregorian?
well, some of it was a la Gregorian chant. That's true, but there were other things where the meter changed.
It had the whole note,
What do you
and
say?
it didn't have a time signature.
It was just,
on the back of the flyer.
wasn't it just based off of the word stress?
Yeah, and the length of the measure would keep changing. So instead of cluttering the notation with time signatures, they put in no time signature, and it was just a matter of the quarter note or the half note was always constant. Okay, this is stuff you need to pay attention to because it all applies to what we're doing here. All right. So, and you know, a lot of you had never seen that before. If you actually
I
asked me
stopped
about
singing,
it,
I was
which
like,
is okay.
oh my god, what is this?
Yeah, yeah, but you did it. You just went with the flow. You just went with the flow, right? Right?
Started humming.
Okay. So let's see. Knocked off time signatures here. Okay, note values. Okay. How long is every quarter note?
Well, I was
How long is every quarter note?
2/8 notes.
2/8 notes. Exactly right.
Oh, nice, though.
Which can be flagged or beamed. Generally speaking, you'll see eighth notes beamed more than you will see them flagged nowadays. Simply because flags are harder to see. Okay. The beams not only tell us that those are eighth notes, but it also gives us groupings of them. Okay, you can see immediately group of 2, group of 3, whatever. All right. Every eighth note is how long?
2/16.
2/16. All right. And again, you can double flag those, which get really hard to see, or you can beam those, 2 beams. Make that happen. All right. And one more level. How long is every 16th note?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Right. Which take 3 flags or 3 beams.
You already see those.
Not very often, but it doesn't mean they don't happen. Okay. By the time you get to Aural Theory 3, you will have to be able to cope with these. Okay, so those are all now. every note value, well, let me do two different things here. The Y values for time signatures, whole note is 1, okay, half note is 2, quarter note is 4, eighth note is 8, that's the only one, and they sort of continue to correspond. 16th note, 16, 32nd note, 32. Every once in a while, if somebody really wants to be intimidating, they may put a 64th note at the bottom of a time signature, but that's very rare. Usually, mostly only in very, very modern music does that happen. So those you're not going to have to cope with too much. But if 16th note gets the beat,
Whitney Carlos.
No, not necessarily. Let's see. Yes,
I kind
ma'am.
of have like a random, a little bit off topic question. Say you were in 2/4 and you were counting that. The eighth notes would be 1 and 2, and the next one would be 1 E and a 2 E and a. What would 32nd notes?
No one has ever come up with a system for 32nd notes.
No?
Wow.
Because by the time you get down that far, you have to know what you're doing. Yeah, I have never seen a breakdown system for anything smaller than the 16th note. So,
Okay.
yeah, because A, it doesn't come up that often, and B, when it does come up, it is presumed you know what you're doing by then. You had a question?
Did you purposely dot that quarter note right here?
No, I did not. That was a slip of the chalk. We'll get to that in a moment, though. That's a good one. Okay. Didn't think we were gonna leave anything out.
I knew you were gonna go there.
Okay. Now, every note value has an equivalent rest value. Okay. Let's start here. Quarter notes, quarter rest. Okay, again, easiest way to draw them: backwards 3 with a feather. Right now, but squish. Don't go doing this. That is either an ampersand or a funky letter E. All right. No, that's not a quarter rest. Okay. It's got to be squished. It's got to be squished. Okay. Now the eighth sort of looks like a number 7 with an extra, flourish on it. The 16th rest, 2 flourishes.
2 bells.
The 32nd note, 3 flourishes. All right, like so. Now, what's the difference between a whole rest and a half rest? Yes, sir.
The whole rest hangs and the half rest sits.
Exactly. That's all there is to it.
That is a good one.
The whole rest hangs and the half rest sits. Now, the question is, where on the staff?
The whole is on the 4th line.
Whole, listen carefully, the whole hangs from the 4th line,
The half rests on the third.
and the half sits on the 3rd line. They both occupy which space? Third space. Third. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the system. Okay. We don't mess with the ones in the staff, 1, 2, 3, and 4. But space 5 is the one at the bottom, space 6 is the one at the top.
Yeah, you come out with some logic bullshit. I mean, stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Hi.
It's okay. It's okay. We understand. We understand.
Okay, yeah. Those of you who did not have 100 with me are going to need to get used to that very quickly. Now, here's the proof, or let's see how much you remember. What is the proof that spaces 5 and 6 exist on the staff? How do we prove it? Yes, ma'am?
The key signatures?
How?
Because they go off the staff. I'm trying to remember.
Well, no, they don't go
not off the staff, like in the 6th space.
Okay. What key signature, I'm in the treble clef here, what key signature
Oh, wait, no.
does this represent?
Hold up. What's that?
A major.
Yeah, A major.
I was going to
Pretty sure.
get here. Like, that ain't even
Okay, well,
thing.
that's how fast you gotta be able to move with this stuff. Okay, yeah, A major. Now, how do you know that? How do you know that? How do you tell the tonic pitch from a sharp key signature? Somebody else.
The very last sharp in the key signature. And
Yeah.
You move up a half step.
Up a half step. So this is G sharp, Hey, there you go.
Oh, that's how you do that.
That's how you do that.
I haven't figured it out.
Yeah, there was stuff I saw in the final exam that, fascinating carpet-based music results. So that's how you do it. The last sharp, always, the last sharp up a half step. And there you are. Okay, now, look where the last sharp is. Space 6. If that were not permissible, we'd have to do it down here. Do you ever see that? No, only on test papers that are incorrect. You ever see that? Right. So, this is where it goes. All right. Now, same principle. What key signature am I now representing here?
F.
No. That's worse. Yes, ma'am. What's that? C flat major. No. Hold it. C and C flat are not the same, any more than C and C sharp are not the same. That is what we call shortcut thinking. That will get you into big trouble. C flat is absolutely not the same as C.
That's right.
Right? Now, look where the last flat is. Space 5. If that weren't legal, and I saw this on some exam papers.
That was me.
We go up there. Yeah, so don't do that. Space 5 is on the staff. You see, there are 4 spaces in the staff, 2 more on the staff. That's what's important to remember. 4 in the staff, 2 on the staff.
That's
Yes,
what I'm
ma'am.
saying. I'm glad you taught me that because no one had ever taught me that. And I had some years before and had choir all through grade school, high school, you know.
Oh yeah. It's very widespread. So I'm sort of on a one-man campaign to fix that. But here's the other thing. Back in the days of yore, when I taught Music 100, and people got told, all right, there are 4 spaces on the staff, and these 2 were never accounted for, I saw stuff like this. Talk to me.
No hats and no bottoms.
No hats and no footstools. Yes. Those pictures are on the staff. You don't need ledger lines. You only need ledger lines if they are truly off the staff, like so. If you look at real music, you never ever see that.
I mean,
Don't ever let me see that either.
in technicalities, wouldn't it be more spaces then?
They are spaces, nothing technical about it.
Why wouldn't they count them?
Because there are 6 spaces on the staff.
Aha.
There are 4 inside the staff, but 2 more on the staff.
So you never need ledger lines for key signatures?
Okay.
Yes, in fact, can you ever use a ledger line in a key signature? No. That is your proof, ladies and gentlemen. That is your proof. That's a space on the staff. That is a space on the staff. It's just not in the staff. That's all. Okay? That you must remember. That is the first thing you've got to burn into the read-old memory. That didn't happen already. Okay? Because that, again, has to do with key signatures, has to do with correct notation. And correct notation constitutes spelling. Yes, spelling counts when you write music. All right? So, and let's see, that constitutes. I think we get the magic number.
It's 14.
This is good. Okay. Here we go.
15, yeah.
Yes. They said it couldn't be done.
Hey, don't forget to sign the
okay, those of you who are not here at the beginning, make sure you're signed in here. You know the deal here. All right. Now, the order of sharps and flats in the key signatures. Extremely important. Extremely important. Let's do another grand staff here.
Dr. Ross,
Yo.
are there key signature exercises on musictheory.net?
Yes, there are. Okay. I didn't mean now.
Oh,
Sit down.
Anyone forget it?
Yes, there are note value exercises and modules. There are key signature exercises. There are rhythm exercises. It's all in musictheory.net. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about the different flavors, I guess, as you call it, of intervals?
I'm getting there.
Okay, I'm talking about today on musictheory.net.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Except they don't call them flavors.
I know.
Yeah, that's my word. But,
What is it, Ross's rules for what?
What do you call it?
rhythmic regularity.
Thank
We'll get
you.
to that, too.
Oh, God. How many rules do you have, Professor Ross?
Billions and billions. Only a few of you are old enough to remember that. Anyway, all right. Order of the flats. Okay.
For breakfast, eat a dark, good cereal.
That's the order of the keys.
Oh, my bad.
Bead, GCF.
Yeah.
B, greatest common factor.
Okay.
That's your mnemonic. All right? And they correspond in the bass clef exactly.
Wow, I didn't know that.
They correspond exactly.
There's
See,
a third lower, right? in the-
well,
in the bass line.
starts on the third line here, starts on the second line here.
Right, yeah.
Strictly speaking, they're 2 octaves apart. They're not a third lower. Because
Well, I mean, like-
there's B flat and there's the other one. They're 2
Well, it's
octaves
been, well,
apart.
I mean, but it's in terms of just like on the staff.
Okay, but do be careful. Do be careful with stuff like that. So, B, E, A, D, G, C, F. Bead, greatest common factor. That's how you remember those. Bead, greatest common factor. That's the order of the flats. Now, the order of the sharps is what?
Pancakes
Second,
go down,
then
I'll be
I'll
eating
eat
chicken.
Namely,
Chicken.
I like chicken.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for sharing. Anyway, okay. Now, is it not the order of the sharps backwards?
Yes, it is.
Yes. So, here's how it works.
Go down alley and eat chicken.
I wish it was a C though. I like big chicken.
It's okay.
Okay. That's it, right?
No.
No, wait.
Why?
No, you have two sharps on the 6th space. What are you doing?
That's to see if you were paying attention.
And you have 3 sharps on the 6th space. I know he did, but I just want him to know I know how
No,
he is.
I had 2 flying off.
And then
This is where they go.
shark heads.
Okay, now, the set of sharps on the staff in key signatures is the inconsistent one. Down a 4th, up a 5th, down a 4th, down another 4th, up a 5th, down a 4th. Because if that were to follow suit, that would be on a ledger line. Is that permitted?
No.
No. Okay. The amount of outrage when I did that was exactly right. That was good. So that mustn't happen. All right. Now, here's the thing. In the bass clef, we wouldn't have to do that. You see, because this A of the sharp is still on the staff. It's absolutely on the staff. However, we must keep the 2 consistent. Therefore, what we must do in one clef, we must do in both. Keep it consistent. Now, the only time that changes is in oral theory 2 when we start working with alto and tenor clefs, because there is a difference in the tenor clef.
So they're consistent for both.
Yeah, but so they're going to be, so in terms of treble clef, bass clef, the placement of the sharps, the placement of the flats is 100% consistent. You must know this. Cold. All right, now, opposite order. Fat cats go down alleys eating brie. Brie. It's supposed to bring. It's a little higher class. Or whatever you want to come up with. Okay. Now, In terms of the tonics represented by the sharps and flats, this is the new information for which we need to thank Bobby.
What did you do?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
what you talking about? I gotta do her. I didn't understand, but she.
one sharp G, 2 sharps D, 3 sharps E, 4 sharp A, 4 sharps,
Oh no. Oh yeah.
4 sharps
D.
5 sharps
A.
B. Well, you can throw names of the letters of the alphabet at me if you tell me what they are. 5 sharps is B, 6 sharps is
F sharp.
F sharp, and 7 is
C sharp.
C sharp. Okay. So, good, days, always, and before friends call.
Did we just do that? What is it?
Yeah.
I have a different method. Can I share my method?
You know how she gave us the
Okay. Can y'all listen? Can you stop talking? Thank you. So, you see how, can I get up? Can I sing this before?
Oh, this is a whole lecture here. Go for it.
What is? I'm trying to figure out what we're doing.
So, alright. In the little circle in the back of that book, right? There's circle
What's it
fifth.
called?
Circle fifth.
Thank you.
Alright, so it starts with C, right? Cause C, that's C. So it's like C, D, E, F, and then it's G, A, B, C. That's how I remembered it. And then the other one.
Now, what's the difference between the two C's?
Oh, I just want to try.
Very good.
Do that.
That's how I figured that out.
Okay.
I don't know what y'all talking about.
Well, can
Words.
Somebody showed me a really awesome trick. Can I show you? Or show everyone?
Okay. You see, it doesn't matter how you remember this stuff, as long as you remember it.
Now, this only works for the, it doesn't work for the flat side, it only works for
Okay,
the,
so we're talking about the sharp side.
Okay,
All right.
so,
Go ahead.
you know C, and then, alright, so, somebody told me, when you draw a G, it only takes one motion to draw your D, and it has one sharp. So G, and then the next one is D, 1, 2. It takes 2 motions. You see what I'm saying? It makes sense if you see it.
It's
So
awesome.
1, 2 sharps. And then the next one is A. 1, 2, 3.
3 sharps.
Three
Right.
sharps.
Oh, you got that. I like
And then
that. That's hot.
C,
Keep going,
1,
keep
2,
going.
3, 4.
Yes.
E. The B is a little different. It's 1. You make it pointy. 2, 3, 4, 5.
You better do that.
I was wondering how you're going to get around
Yeah.
it.
And then you just know that F sharp and C sharp come after that.
Right.
Because listen, C either gets none or all. It either gets none or all. And then C
Yeah.
sharp just is F sharp, so just remember there's F sharp right after B, and then you know your C sharp.
Yeah, if you get that far across.
That's cool,
Whatever works, folks. This is great.
We're gonna make it.
We're getting it all on film, too.
I can't take credit for that. I'm gonna have to
Okay, it's perfectly all right. That's good. So your B has to look sort of Greekish. You know, you've seen this on souvlaki places and stuff like that. Where they, yeah. Anyway, so that works out there. Now the flats, on the other hand, okay, the tonics. Okay, so these are the sharp tonics. The flat tonics. Tonic meaning what? Okay, that is your starting point for any scale, is the tonic, okay? Now, okay, so for the tonics, for breakfast,
Eat.
A,
Dark.
cereal, good, cereal.
You know what I told you today? You know I'm trying to do that.
What's that? It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Okay, now, okay, actually I shouldn't say that, because when you get into harmony, there's a very big difference between this and this. We're talking about keys.
Major and minor.
Yeah. Which one's which?
Major.
Major and minor. Okay. Okay, never say we never do nothing for you here. All right, there we go. See, they feel better now? There you go. We're fine. Good. Okay. All right. All right. So, see, there's four sequences that you have to learn where major key signatures are concerned. Order of the flats, order of the sharps, order of the sharp tonics, order of the flat tonics. All right? Okay, now, let's say you're still struggling with this. How do you find the tonic pitch from a flat major key signature?
The last
How do you
flat
do
behind
that?
it.
The second to the last.
Second to the last flat. Okay, now, what happens, though, if you only have one flat?
F.
No.
That's F major. Okay, the reason for that, there is a reason, which I usually can't talk about in 100 because people will flee screaming. But, suppose we wanted to create this major scale. Right out of room there. Major scale, right? Okay, now, how many flats, never mind the last tonic here for a moment, how many flats does that take?
7.
Nope,
8.
8. It takes 8 flats.
Yeah.
Why is it 8?
So it returns back to the original one, or to the tonic one?
No, that's not why.
Wow.
Where is the 8th flat?
It's in between the tetrachord. Well, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the
There it
flats.
is.
Yeah, it's like.
This requires a double flat in order to do it. This is what's called a theoretical scale. There is no such thing as F flat major. But if there were, the second flat would go there, and look what the preceding flat is, F.
Oh.
That's, so it is consistent, but you have to go into the la-la land of major scales in order to prove it, okay? So, don't worry about that, per se. Main thing is, if you see one flat, it's F major. Now, this is also important. If you see one flat in the key signature, talk to me. You see one flat in the key signature, is that the name of the scale?
No.
Why?
Because it's 9.
No, that's not enough.
Because
There is no F flat.
There is no F flat in the key of F major. See, that's more shortcut thinking. The idea is that if there's a flat, then every letter name is going to be flatted. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Okay? And the same is true here on final exams. I would see things like this, 2 sharps. People would say D sharp. People would say D sharp. Wrong, 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 because there is no D sharp in the key of D major. Yes, sir.
Question. For the sharps, you only have F sharp major and C sharp major.
Mhm.
And for the flats, you have
Everything but F.
F.
Everything but F involves a flat in the name. That's exactly right. So, yeah, strictly speaking, yeah. Like so. So again, this is all stuff you have got to be 100% on top of if you're going to make this work. Not yet. Not yet. Okay, they're claiming I never ordered them, which is ridiculous.
They even showed me the screen, I'm like, that's.
We got like 15 minutes.
Okay, well, I've got to go talk to the manager of the bookstore, who's the person that I spoke to about that. Yeah. Okay, so.
Are you going to put that book on reserve in the library?
I don't have more than one copy, that's a problem. Okay, so, yeah. In fact, they never give me more than one of these. So.
How much does it cost?
What's that? Not yet. Not yet.
How much is it?
It's supposed to be on order too much.
Tell us the price.
Okay, I don't remember if it was 70-something or 90.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Yeah. Like I said, too much. Okay, but remember, one book, it was for 3 courses.
Somewhere. I'm going to find that bad boy tonight.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. There's an e-version available, probably, or if you can get the 8th edition on Amazon, eBay, something like that, the 8th edition will suffice. It's just there's some new stuff in here that is not in the 8th edition, but I'm going to have to go through, as I always do with these, I'm going to have to painstakingly cross-reference the 8th edition with this edition. So I will give you 2 sets of numbers.
you know, when we're actually doing stuff in class. It's a total pain, but that's how we make the books last.
Is it available at music stores as well?
Might be, you can give it a try. But generally speaking, textbooks like this are considered to be too specialized. I mean, try it. I mean, they can certainly get it for you, where we do. So that's important as well. Okay, now let's see, in terms of the notational stuff, yeah. Okay, so we have here a theoretical major scale. Let's go do a real major scale. Based on this key signature, why not? Okay, the structure of every major scale consists of two whats? Tetrachords. Tetrachords, yes. Specifically, major tetrachords.
What was your question again?
Yeah, every major scale consists of two identical whats, which is major tetrachords. All right? Now, what is the structure of the major tetrachord? Between the first two is always whole step, then whole, then half. Okay, that's true over here as well. There's a whole, there's a whole, there's a half. And the two tetrachords, because I think a lot of you missed this on the exam, are connected by a whole step. Yes, because if you start from here and go whole, half, you're going to come up with something very different. You must remember, it is two major tetrachords connected by a whole step. Now, if it's easy to remember, whole, half, whole, half, fine. Doesn't matter, as long as you get it right. Okay. But it's important to understand that the reason that the major scale is not only so important because it's used so much, is because it's symmetrical. It's symmetrical. You have a major tetrachord here, major tetrachord here, and they're separated by a whole step. That's all there is to it. Okay. The proper name for the whole step is the what? What is the proper name? The proper name for the whole step is what?
Is it diatonic?
A major second?
Major second. Oh. Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Oh, duh. That's the
So,
my bad.
major second, minor second. For those of you who did not have not had theory with me, whenever you write the abbreviation for minor, use a lowercase m, but also put a macron over it. Okay, so that I can distinguish that from major. You are not to do this. No McDonald's symbols. Yeah. Well, I meant major, I meant minor. Well, no, you didn't. You know? That says minor. That says major. So no hedging of your bets here.
So there's no line with a second major we have here.
No. No. Okay. So, those. The major second spans how many half steps?
Two.
Two. Mm-hmm. The major scale is also the basic measure of all intervals. Is the basic measure of all intervals. That is, if you measure the interval, each pitch of a major scale, from its respective tonic. These are our basic diatonic interval set. Okay. Now, again to review, every interval has two defining features to it. There is the numerical value and the quality. The numerical value is simply prime or unison, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, octave. Why is it called octave and not eighth? Exactly, because that is an eighth. So the name's already taken. That's why we call that an octave. Okay? So now, prime or unison, doesn't matter which. Unison or prime, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, octave. It describes how many letter names or pitch names are spanned in the interval. That is what the numerical value is. So A to A is only 1. A to B is 2. A to C, whatever, is 3. A to D is 4. A to E is 5. A to F, whatever, is 6. A to G, whatever, is 7. A to A, 8. You see, even though we start all over again. Okay, that's where that comes from. So the number of letter names spanned in an interval. Now, in terms of the number of half steps, okay, this is also something that unless you get one of the apps or something like that, or the aforementioned toy keyboard or whatever, until you get this memorized, this is also going to be your very, very good friend. Because the keyboard, aside from sort of being the basis of all Western music making, is also the means by which we measure how large or small an interval is. All right. Now, when you are counting letter names, you count from what number? Those of you who had 100 with me.
0.
No.
No, letter names? You
Letter
said
names.
1. I'm sorry.
1. You count from 1 for the letter names. Okay. Yes. A to B. 1, 2. All right. That's how it works. You must keep this straight. Okay. Now, when you measure number of half steps, you count from 0. Because how many half steps are in a unison? 0. So no, it is not 1. Because there's only one key for it on the keyboard. That's the only A there is. That's the only A4 that there is. All right? So 0 half steps for a unison. That's what defines it. Okay? So number of half steps. Okay, so that's 0, 2. Notice major second, 2 half steps. That's one of the ones that correspond. Major third
4.
is 4 half steps. Perfect fourth is
5.
perfect fifth is
7.
7. Major sixth is
9.
9. Major seventh is
11.
11. And perfect octave is 12. Right, exactly. Okay. Now, what is the quality that is a half step smaller than major?
Minor.
Minor. What is the quality that is a half step smaller than minor? Diminished. What is the quality that is 1/2 step larger than major? Augmented. What is the quality that is 1/2 step larger than perfect? Augmented. What is the quality that is 1/2 step below, smaller than perfect? Diminished. Yes. They are two completely separate measurement systems. What a perfect interval can never be what or what? Major or minor. Exactly. Same thing. Consequently, there is no such thing as a perfect third. There is no such thing as a perfect seventh. Impossible. It defies the laws of physics. Yeah.
When doing the augmented and diminished, when it becomes double augmented or double diminished when you have an extra, when you have more than the half step that is required.
In 2 half steps, a half step smaller than diminished is doubly diminished. A half step larger than augmented is doubly augmented. You're not going to run into those very often, certainly not in this course. But eventually you have to be able to deal with those. Yes, sir?
So, where do we have diminished keeping?
Those are for chords, specifically 7th chords. We don't deal with that in this course. Aural Theory 3, you might. I think Aural Theory 3 covers that. Certainly in Harmony 2, we deal with that. But half diminished is a chord quality. It's not an interval quality. Never was, never will be. Okay, but it's a very good question. Yeah. It's also a matter of keeping your terminology straight between the two flavors of theory. Yes, sir?
To be clear, you said only in all areas where we're gonna deal with it, like double,
No, you'll deal with those in harmony too. My point is that doubly diminished intervals, doubly augmented intervals, you're not going to run into that often. In fact, diminished and augmented intervals, you're not going to run into all that much at this point, because these are things that are relatively rare in real music. It's late Romantic era into the 20th century when you really start to run into some of this stuff. In terms of common practice, which we sort of defined as Baroque Classic era into early Romantic, you don't find crazy stuff like that. But eventually you do have to be able to deal with it, one way or another. Okay? All right. So yeah, all good questions here.
In the second feature that everyone has to, besides having numerical values and the tap
I think it's the time.
And quality is measured by the number of halves. So it's always quality and numerical value. And if I ask you, I'm just going to warn you now, if I ask you to identify an interval, and you look at something and say, oh, that's a fourth, I'm going to immediately pounce upon you and say, what flavor?
Chocolate.
When you identify, at which point I won't be amused.
Wait, white chocolate is dark chocolate.
Yeah, well, dark chocolate would be doubly diminished.
That was a good one. That was a good one. I like that.
Your mileage may vary. The point is, when you identify an interval, you must give both qualities. Otherwise, you have not identified the interval. And I will tell you now, if you take too long on something, I am going to tell you, you're taking too long in terms of identifying something. That's the degree to which you need to be on top of this stuff. And at four-year schools, they will expect that coming in. All right? So it's my job to get you ready for that. And believe me, you are, as hard as you might have worked in Music 100, you're going to work at least as hard, if not harder, as you're going to guarantee you. You do this stuff, and you will come out knowing how to read music. You will come out music literate, and that's the point here. All right? So, yeah, do this. Values should be unfamiliar to any of you by this point. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you is something that you probably should have been told right from the get-go. In my Music 100 class, I did allude to this, but now this is something that you're going to have to take to heart and burn into the read-only memory, which is any one of these note values, in terms of the possibilities of duple subdivision, there is a grand total of 5 possibilities for each one. That's all. Let me start with a half note so that I can show you this. Actually, let's get this out of the way so that, right, I'm going to start with a half note. Okay. Now,
What is the length of a half note?
4 quarter notes. I'm sorry, 2 quarter notes.
2 quarter notes. Exactly. Who said 4 quarter notes? It's a knee-jerk reaction. Okay. 2 quarter notes. All right. Now, so 1 sound, 2 sounds. All right. That's the duple subdivision right there. Now, how can that play out? If we're only dividing down to the quarter note, you can have a sound on one and no sound on the other, or you can have no sound on one and a sound on the other, or it can be completely silent. Folks, that's it. That's all the possibilities. All right? Now, some of you are looking at me like I'm nuts. Well, let's continue this here. All right? How long is a whole note?
4 quarters.
Okay, if we're talking duple subdivision, it's 2 half notes. All right, so 2 half notes, meaning sound on one and not the other. No sound on one, sound on the other, or no sound at all. A total of 5 possibilities. Okay? Now, how would the quarter note divide up? How long is a quarter note?
2 8
2 8 notes. Okay, so what are the possibilities from there?
1/8 note, 1/8 rest.
Yeah? 1/8 rest, 1/8 note, or
Nothing.
or a quarter rest. That's it. That's all. Nothing more than that. If you understand how duple subdivision works, learning this will allow you to read any duple subdivision rhythm. Well, there's one more that we need to do here. How long is an eighth note? 2/16. Okay, meaning 1/16 rest, or like so, or an eighth rest, or nothing happens. Okay, that's it. That is how rhythm works, folks. All right. Now, let's start with the half note here, and then sort of work our way down. All right. Now, let me rewrite this, because I'm also going to show you the beginnings of how to deal with sounds as they go by and capturing them. All right. So let's say that our situation is x over 4, meaning what gets the beat? The quarter note. Okay, we don't know how many beats per measure. It doesn't matter right now. It does not matter. Okay. So we can represent, if the quarter note gets the beat, and this is something that lasts 2 quarter notes, so we can graphically represent those 2 beats by slashes, strokes, whatever you want to call them, okay, or ticks. All right. Now, so this sound, okay, if the quarter note gets the beat, this sound lasts how many beats? 2. All right. Here's what we do. We can draw a picture of it. That sound starts on beat 1 and lasts 2 beats. Do you all follow what I'm doing here? Yeah. It's a shorthand graphic representation of what actually goes on with these note values. Okay? All right. Now, so if that's the case, if this is a sound that lasts 2 beats, then each of these sounds are going to last 1 beat. So we put arrowheads on both of them. Okay? Now, we'll correlate sound in just a moment. All right? Here, what happens on these 2 beats? Okay, there's a sound on the first beat and no sound on the second beat, so we cross that one out. Okay? All right? Again, if at any point this gets fog bound, ask me immediately. All right? Now, how about this one? Okay. No sound, and then a sound. All right? Think about it in terms of where is there a sound, where is there no sound? Okay, because if you're thinking only the literal graphics, you're not necessarily getting what they represent, all right? Sound, no sound. Sound, sound. Sound that lasts 2 counts, 2 beats.
This is all assuming that you know the time signature to start with, is that correct?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It does not matter what time signature it is. All that matters is here, the quarter note gets the beat. That's all that matters. Okay? All right? Now, how about this one? No sound. So, we can do that, or you could do that. Yeah, that works just as well. All right? Now, here's the quarter note. Read each one of these. 1, 2, ready, go. Ta, 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 ta. That's it. And, see, you're still actively counting those silences, all right? Rest does not mean coffee break. Rest does not mean becoming uninvolved. Rest means you're still focused, because something may follow it. The silences are as important, if not more important, than the sounds. Okay, you cannot ignore silences, ever. All right?
So a situation like that, where you're going to have a simply X over quarter note, when that is going to be provided by you, I mean, when will we have an actual situation like that?
You won't, because I'm showing you how duple subdivision works. And I'm showing you that there are only 5 possibilities down to the quarter note. There are only 5 ways for duple subdivision of a half note. That's what I'm showing you. Okay, because you see, that's why the time signature doesn't matter. All that matters is the quarter note gets the beat here. All right? Now, let's do this over here. All right? So, if we're still X over 4, now, you know, we could easily say, all right, this is 4/4 time. But in a lot of ways, it really doesn't matter. All right? Now, so, how would we represent this sound? Well, no. Where does the sound start? Beat 1. Okay, part of this is you also need to learn how to think about this stuff the right way. All right? Accurate language is crucial to describing what happens musically. Because if you're in a session and you're the producer, you have to be able to tell your players, singers, whatever, you have to be able to pinpoint a place and say exactly what is going on, if you aspire to do that. If you use just generalized languages, generalized language, you're not only going to waste time, but you're going to waste money. So you need to learn how to accurately describe what happens musically. So, the sound starts on beat 1 and lasts how long? 4 beats, like so. All right? Now, what about this one? Describe it accurately. Yes, ma'am?
Sound on the first beat, last into the second.
Good.
Sound on the third beat, last into the fourth.
Now, that is accurate. Very good. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, everybody follow that? Okay.
You're going from the whole note to 2 half notes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm working with this chart right now.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, how about this one? Somebody else. Describe it accurately. Yes, sir.
Sound from the first beat to the second beat.
Good.
And silence on the third beat, and sound on that fourth one.
Sound?
No sound.
That's it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what I mean by accurately. Because what you just described was this. That's what you just described. Makes a difference. That is absolutely not that, as you're going to see on page 1 of the thing I handed out. Okay? All right. How about this next one? Somebody else. Yes, ma'am.
You'll have silence for 2 beats.
Mm-hmm.
For 2 beats, I'm sorry. And
Okay.
then sound, leading from the 3rd beat to the 4th.
There you go. Well, sound lasting.
Or lasting.
It's sound lasting. Okay, good. That's exactly right. How about the last one here?
No sound.
No sound. So if you have enough room, you just cross them all out. Okay, or you can cross out each individual one. Your comfort level may demand that, but that's perfectly okay. Doesn't matter. All right. Now, read these. Here's a quarter note. 1, 2, here we go. Ta, 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 ta. That's it. And you're not done until you finish that one. All right. Now, where there is no sound, I have not included that on these rhythm charts. All right. Okay, so that's something that you need to be aware of. All right. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at the rhythm chart here. Rhythms in 4/4 Part 1. Full half and quarters, no rest. Yes. Now, okay. Again, those of you walking in late did not receive these. Here we go. Okay, so now what this does, if no rests are involved, there are 8 ways to divide a whole note into quarter notes or quarter note values. Okay, this is it. This is it. All right, read each one of these after me. And again, this is how the audio drills are going to go. You'll hear the rhythm, and then you sing it back, recite it back, whatever it is. Okay? So this is how it's going to work. So you get a count off. 1, 2. Listen. Ta, 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 Now, of course, this is insultingly easy. It will not always be that way. Yeah. But you must start at the beginning, and you must master the easy stuff. Okay, because if you don't, you're going to run into big trouble later. Okay, now, 7 and 8 involve what that we haven't talked about since 100? Augmentation dots. And what does the augmentation dot do?
Increase the note by half of value.
Yes, increases any note value by half that value. So in other words, half note, last 2 quarter notes. The augmentation dot adds 1 quarter note. Don't you dare say to me it adds 1 beat.
Sorry.
Ever. No, you didn't, so not to apologize for it, right?
I did.
Okay, yeah, but you see, that's the sort of knee-jerk reaction to the augmentation does. Ooh, adds 1 beat. No, it doesn't. No, adds 1/2 of the given note value to that note value. Yeah, you who took 100 with me know about that. Okay, all right. So, turn the page. Now, what happens when we throw 1 quarter rest into the mix? Suddenly there are a lot more possibilities. Okay? Now, these are organized. These are organized by which half of the set of 4 we're working with. In other words, where does the half note fall, all of that kind of thing. Okay, so 9 through 20, repeat after me. Here we go. 1, 2, listen and repeat. Ta, 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 ta,
Ta, ta,
ta, ta,
ta, ta,
ta, ta,
ta, ta,
ta, ta. Okay, so you're a little late on that one. All right. So, all right. Okay. Now, okay. Full lengths of everything longer than, or I should say, the full length of anything that is a half note or longer is absolutely essential, because if you cut one short, see, this will then turn into that, or some other subdivision, okay? So, you must be accurate in your length of note values, okay? I'm going to be a real stickler on that, and me, okay? They're all there, yeah, sure, right, well, you'll see. Turn the page. Now, when you add 2 beats rest into the mix, you get a different combination, and then if 3 out of the 4 beats are silent, there are only 4 possibilities. All right, so they're all spelled out for you. So, the number of ways to divide a whole note into quarter notes with quarter rest is there are exactly 33 possibilities. If you know all of those, you will never misread a rhythm. But you gotta learn them. Gotta learn them. Get to the point where you look at it and you know instantly what it sounds like. That's what the audio drills are going to be about. So, and again, they are cybernetic and recorded versions of what we're doing right now. All right, so starting with 21, let's go straight through. 1, 2, listen, repeat. Ta, 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 ta. Very good. Very good. Usually people mess something up on there, especially when they get the last four. Very good. Say what? Well, that's it. That's good. All right. So you learn those 33, and you can read any rhythm down to the quarter note. That's it. That's all there are. All right. Questions on any of this? All right. Now, you've already got some written homework. Is for each of these 3 pages, I want you to show what they will look like on a tick line. There are exactly 4. Yeah, again, 4 beats worth. Every one of these is going to be marked up a different way. Now, some of them we've already looked at, but there are others that that we haven't done. So, for tomorrow, have tick lines ready to show me. All right.
For all 3 pages, right?
Was that for all 3 pages? Should not take you that long. Okay. And what I would suggest is don't do it on this paper. Do it on make copies of these, and do it on a separate sheet that you can show me. All right. So we will go from there. All right. Now have a look at your pitch vocabulary. Yeah, we're going to start dealing with pitches immediately too. All right. Okay. All right. Now, just have a look at these before we actually start singing through them. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate for you here live what the audio drills are going to entail, right? So that you know what to expect. Now, the difference is the audio drills are generated entirely by Finale software, which means you will not hear me singing on them, right? But it doesn't matter. You will hear a nice soothing combination of flute and bassoon doing these. And then when you're to sing back, there is a support of harp on that. So you'll hear the two pitches, and then when you sing, and then you sing along with the harp. Okay, and this is all written out in the scores, so you can see what's going on, right? And what I may do is make up one of these, and we'll hand those out, and then I'll actually show you how this works. But this is where your practice is going to be. This is how you're going to practice this stuff outside of class, over and above whatever you do with musictheory.net. All right. Now, this is just like practicing scales, practicing arpeggios, practicing triads, whatever practice you would do on your major instrument. You're gonna have to do it here too. All right. That is the thing that is most dismaying for people. Oh my God, I gotta practice. Yes, you do. Because the only way you're going to get this. If the only time you work on this stuff is in class, it's never going to happen. All right. So. These are your practice materials. This is the moral equivalent of playing your scales, all right, in keyboard class. So, in some of these, and I haven't been able to haven't done it with all of them because in some cases it's simply not possible. Notice that I've italicized the do and re and the re and do at the very beginning of this. When we talk about a major second, and we talk about solfeggio syllables, when we talk about that whole step, that major section, do to re is normally what we think of. All right, so we call that the normative syllable pair for major seconds. All right, normative is something that you won't hear in music classes very often, but in other disciplines, something that is normative is defined as something that what we the basic reference point, all this kind of thing. Now, probably, before we go very far into this, I should introduce to you the full solfeggio system, which you may have had some of in Music 100. I didn't spend a lot of time on it. Some others of you may have spent a little more time on it, but now is the time when you're really going to spend time on it.
How do you spell solfeggio?
There it is. Now, we use solfeggio when sight reading, especially at the very, very earliest stages, for two reasons. Well, there's really one reason, but there are several sub-reasons that go with it. Primarily, the syllables tell us the relationships between pitches, and specifically how they relate to the tonic of a scale. And we normally start as our frame of reference, as our unit of measurement, the major scale. There are more complicated versions of this for minor scales. We're not going to go there until Aural Theory 2, right? Because you're going to have your hands full with the major scales. All right. So, here is our major scale. All right. Now, Rodgers and Hammerstein made this very familiar to everybody. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, and notice it's S-O-L is how it's spelled. La, ti, and back to do. All right. Now, when you are marking up a melody in terms of filling in syllables, because for quite some time What you're going to do is when I give you something to sight read in class or on an exam, the first thing you are going to do is mark your syllables in, right? I don't expect you to immediately look at a melody and know what all the syllables are. You don't have enough experience. You can't possibly do that until Oral Theory 3. Then it will be expected of you. So, you need not write out the whole syllable in each case. D, R, M, F, S, L, T, and back to do. Right? You can use just the first initial because they're all different from each other. Right? And they were, and when this was invented back in the Middle Ages, that was the idea. Okay. Interestingly enough, the tonic, I don't know when it started to be called do, but in much, much older theory, back to at least the Renaissance, and further back than that, the tonic was, the syllable for the tonic was ut. I don't understand it, but anyway, but just so you know. That won't be on an exam, don't worry about it. Okay, so do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. However, there's more to it than that. Because, see, everybody can measure from do. That's not a problem. Okay, if you know where do is, you can go up from do. Two problems. Coming downwards, and also what happens if you are somewhere in the middle of the scale, especially if there are flats or sharps involved. Then what do you do? Well, I'm going to give you, what these charts are designed to do is give you every single possibility within the octave. Every single bloody one of them, including the weird ones that you normally will not run into. Okay, so you had a question. Yes, sir?
Are we always talking about it C here, or is this?
Okay, C is the tonic that we are working with in these charts. However, these are good for every key universally. Whatever your keynote is, whatever your tonic is, call that do. These relationships are valid. Right, and that's really important to know. Part of your homework is also going to be filling out charts for different keys, so you know what they are, so you know what syllable, how the syllables relate to different keys. Right. So, but we're going to use C as the center of our tonal universe. I mean, it was good enough for Charles Ives, it's certainly good enough for us. Anyway, now, remember chromatic scales? And how they drove you nuts. They may drive you a little less nuts on this basis because now I'm going to show you some of the reasons why they are structured the way they are structured, and it has to do with solfeggio. Interestingly enough, but I couldn't tell you that back then. Generally speaking, you don't hear about that. Music 100. A chromatic scale is normally built using sharps ascending. Okay, we're back to do here. So there's do, there's re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and then we're back to do. All right. Now, all these sharp pitches also have names. This is the part that nobody ever talks about until you get to oral hearing. Okay. Now, it's important that you think of this way. Okay, that is a what, obviously? That's a sharp. The sharp does what? Raises any pitch by 1/2 step. Okay. Now, raising by 1/2 step is the key to understanding this system. Think of it that way. Okay. Do raised 1/2 step. We call that D. Don't say die. We're speaking Italian here. Okay. Re raised 1/2 step is re. Notice mi to fa
I already have a half step there. Okay, but we're going to come back to this for a moment. Fa raised 1/2 step is Fi. Sol raised 1/2 step is La raised 1/2 step is E. T is our leading tone, goes to Do. All right. So, normally, that's the end of the story. However, there are 2 pitches that are not accounted for here. What are their names? I've left gaps here. Well, no. Give me pitch names. Don't give me syllables.
E sharp.
E sharp is missing. What else?
B sharp.
B sharp is missing. Yeah, sometimes those will be sharped as well in any given key. Now, at this point, there are no standardized syllables for these 2 pitches. However, they are starting to get standardized. And the ones that we are going to use, Mi raised, okay, well, Mi raised is Fa, but Mi raised by a sharp, Ma. I will tell you about the others in a moment, because it's a whole different story when we use the flats going down. Okay? Now, okay, T is, of course, half step below Do, but if we raise T by half step, using a sharp, we're going to call that Ta. Now, we're sort of running out of vowels here, so when we go down via the flats, you'll see why we're using these. Okay? Now, questions so far? Questions so far? All right. Now, by the same token, where are there enharmonic twins in this pitch set? Yes, ma'am?
E sharp and F, Mon,
Yes,
Fa.
these are the same sound, but they are absolutely not the same pitch. They are the same sound, that is the definition of enharmonic, but they are spelled 2 different ways. That is the definition of enharmonic. Yes, ma'am?
And B sharp and C.
B sharp and C, yes. Yes. These are the enharmonic twins. Okay, there's only one key that represents that sound on the keyboard. But you can spell it 2 different ways. And there are going to be times where you're going to need to measure intervals from these pitches. So you need to know how they work. All right? Now again, people would flee screaming if we brought this up in Music 100. But now's the time to work with it. Yes, sir?
Can you explain what you mean, how they're the same sound but different pitches?
Okay. Good thing this is still up here. All right. Here's F natural, right? Okay. But E sharp. What would we normally call this key? F. But look, E sharp. E sharp. That's it. So there's only one key on the keyboard, namely this, for the same sound. But that's F. That's also E sharp. Now, here's the question: which one am I playing? Both is the correct answer. Yes. Yes, sir?
So why they even call it E sharp? Why?
Because there are situations where that's the only way you can get that pitch. In the key of C sharp major, may you or may you not use an F natural in it? In the key of C sharp major, may you use F natural or may you not?
May.
No, you may not. Because, see, 7 sharps. All right, C sharp major. All right, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp. Okay,
You may not use an F natural there. Why? Somebody else.
It depends on the start point. When you start.
Yeah, but why else?
The die should be,
Go ahead.
it has to be diatonic, right?
Yes, you may not repeat pitch names. You may not skip pitch names. Therefore, any scale, especially any major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, it doesn't matter that they're all sharps. Therefore, you may not use an F natural in the key of C sharp major. You must use E sharp. That's why we have two different names for it. However, what's the relationship between this and this? What's the relationship between that and that? Yes, sir.
You only have 5 flats in the others.
That does not tell me one word about the relationship between these two things. They are enharmonic twins of each other. C sharp major, D flat major are exactly the same sound. However, spelled two different ways. And they are absolutely not the same thing. Because of the way they are spelled. They are absolute. One is in the realm of the sharp keys, one is in the realm of the flat keys. That they sound identical is physics. Simple as that. Okay, so this is why it's important, not only that you know your major scales and the structure of your major scales, but you must also understand that enharmonic equivalents constitute the same sound. They are absolutely not the same thing. E sharp is not the same thing as F natural. There are acoustical and there are physical and intonational things about that too. If you were to measure on an oscilloscope exactly where E sharp is located, it's higher than F natural by a couple of microtones. Ask about this when you take acoustics. Yeah. And there's other stuff that we're going to talk about in just a moment here. So what you must understand is, okay, the two ways of spelling something, they sound the same. They are absolutely not interchangeable. That is extremely important. And you see here we can pound on that. In Music 100 we can only sort of emphasize it. We can't pound on it. One of those things. Anyway. So, questions on that before we continue? Yes, sir?
Yeah, I can't see the classification for the sharps.
Oh, do, di, re, mi, ma, fa, fi, sol, si, la, li, ti, ta, do.
Thank you.
Okay, I will give you a photo op on this when we do the whole chart, and I will also have a handout for this as well, so you can see exactly how this works. Okay. Yeah, because you should see it engraved after all. All right, now, when we go down, so we use flats going down. Okay. Now again, normally that's what you're presented with for the descending chromatic scale. All right, let's have a look at these here. Okay, here's do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. There's our major scale component. All right. Now, the function of a flat is to do what?
Lower any pitch by half step.
Lower any pitch by half step. Again, the way to think about this is think of lowered 1/2 step. Don't think flat, because sometimes what is it that can raise or lower a pitch depending upon where you start? The natural. The natural has the power. And sometimes when you need to lower something a half step, you use a natural. You do not use a flat.
So that's why this whole business of what are you usually told? Oh, a natural cancels the effect of a sharp or a flat. Well, that is actually a rather limited application of the natural. What a natural really does is raise or lower a pitch by a half step, depending upon where you start. If you think of it that way, you will get into far less trouble. I guarantee you. Right? So again, part of the whole business, understanding how the notation system works, is thinking about it the right way. And I'm going to insist on it. I'm just the kind of guy I am. All right. So these diatonic pitches are lowered 1/2 step in each case. They also have specific names. T lowered is te. La lowered is le. Sol lowered is se. Mi lowered is may. That's where you get may. That's where may comes in. All right? Doesn't come in before. All right? And now, this pitch is already called re. So, re lower, ra. Few of you may remember that. Ra. Right? Or you don't. Doesn't matter. Okay. Now, once again, there are two pitches not accounted for. What are they?
Fa.
Fa's there. Give me pitch names. Don't give me syllables. F flat. That's correct. That's one of them. There are such things. And C flat. All right. Again, there are not standardized names for these, but again, they're sort of evolving in this direction. In fact, what we call do lowered, the name for that actually evolved from previous oral theory classes that I've taught here, which is do lowered we call de. And fa lowered, what do you think? Okay. Yeah, that's it. All right. That's the complete set of solfeggio syllables for the complete chromatic scale, including the enharmonics. Where are the enharmonic pairs in this pitch set? Where are the enharmonic pairs?
Day and T.
D.
A and T, C flat and B are enharmonic twins. Where's the other one? No, me and Ma is up here. I'm talking about this
I'm
one.
sorry, I'm listening.
F flat and E, Fe and Mi. Yes. Okay. Now let's ask the question once again. If you're wondering, well, if we're using this particular key, why can't we use E natural? All right. Now, in the key of C flat major, may you or may you not use an E natural? You may not. You must use F flat. Again, to preserve the diatonic characteristics, also to preserve the major tetrachords. That's the other thing, right? Because the major tetrachord, that whole step, half step thing, right? You must use 4 different letter names. So there are times, there are definitively times, when you may be hitting the key that we usually refer to normatively as E natural, but you're going to have to spell it F flat. And the key of C flat major is absolutely not the same as the key of B major. What is the key signature for B major? Taking too long.
Oh, another F.
5 sharps. Right. That took too long, folks. I should ask that. You should know immediately. B major, 5 sharps. As opposed to C flat major, which is how many flats? 7. That's the way. Yeah. So the key of 7 flats is absolutely not the same as the key of 5 sharps. Yeah. C flat is a few microtones lower than B natural. They're not the same. Okay?
You get that in physics?
Yeah, that's physics. That's physics. I am not going to go there.
But, yeah, that's why you have musical acoustics, because they know.
A vibration that sets as
Yeah, yeah, that's right, that's right. Okay, now, this is the system. This is the complete solfeggio system. Again, I will have charts for you on this, but in the meantime, if you want to do photo ops, now's your chance. Unless you bring all of this down, in which case I can move on. Okay, let's do our photo ops here. Yeah.
So I have a question. I know
Yes,
you
ma'am.
said it, but I was writing it down. So DE is day?
Day. Okay, you're speaking
Day,
day, day, yeah. Those, we're speaking Italian here.
I'm not sure when I go home, so it's all lay, say, on a.
May, ra, and going up, D, re, fi, si, li.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah, that's important. Okay. Yeah, there's no I, the I sound in Italian is spelled AI, and there are no solfeggio syllables that do that.
Oh, great, so they do it for me, when I see the E's, I know that they're gonna play it.
Well, yeah, that's part of the clue. That's part of the clue. Well, we'll show you. Yeah. Ma and ta, mi raised and ti raised. Ma and ta. Yeah, but ra is re lowered, because that's all that's left. Nobody ever thought.
You have the on there, right?
Yeah. These are wholly mine materials. You're not going to find these anywhere else. They are wholly mine.
But the exercises are on there.
The exercises are going to use these exact same syllables.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You want to study
Lyrics are included in the audio drills, folks. Yeah. So you don't have to figure out, oh God, what is this supposed to be now? Eventually you should just know. All right. Yeah, well, by the time you get all the way through, that's it. Okay. All right. So now let's have a look. Let's have a look at the major seconds chart here. Okay, good. We'll take a good time here. All right. So the way these are going to work, and I'm going to work these exactly the same way for you, is I will sing back one measure, you sing back one measure, and then after we've gone through up to a double bar, I will sing you two measures, you sing back two measures. Okay? So this is how it's going to work. But before we do that, everybody sing do. Sing do, re, do. Do, re, do. Do, re, mi, re, do. Do, re, mi, re, do. Don't rush, because, listen to what you're doing. Do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do. Do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do. Go up to sol and back. Go. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, up to la and back. Go. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Up to T and back, but don't go to the top do. Ready? Go. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, now that's the thing. You've got to be able to do them backwards as well as forwards. Yeah. You see, music just doesn't go up. It also goes down. Because if it went up, we would have to start tethering it. It wouldn't come back down, right? Okay. Now, the whole scale, do up to do and then back. Done to hair faster. Go. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, let me show you something cool here. You guys start, and you guys come in on two. 1, 2, start, go. Do, go. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, just hold them on. Yes, but notice notice what happens here. Try it again. Hold bottom go when you get there. One, try it again, go.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, la, sol, la, sol, la, mi, re, do.
Very good. Now, let's see.
3 part.
5,
3 part.
3, 4, 5, and 4. 3 ways, starting here. 1, 2, ready, go.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, la, si, la, sol, la, mi, re, do.
Yeah, something you gotta hold on to it. Yeah, okay, try that again. Reverse it. You guys start. You guys start. Okay, I don't know, somehow from stage right to stage left works. Weird. 1, try it again, 3 ways.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, re, si, fa, sol, la, si, la, si, la, sol, la, mi, re, do.
There you go. And you can layer it as many times as you want, actually, up to 4. It works. Most people don't know that about major scales. It will, you see, it will harmonize with itself. Not only that, but very clearly, you're all matching pitches. That's good. If you weren't, we have ways to deal with that too, actually. There's no way out of it. Yes?
This is why you say it's with the keyboard, correct?
Mm-hmm.
It was important where you brought each section in order to do that, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you, basically if you stagger each entrance by 2 beats, do, re, and then when one hits me, you bring in the next do, thirds, up and down, and then what we just had there, triads going up and down. It works. Yeah.
So you start off, it's like going around. Like,
It is around.
When you get to me, they'll be on the.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's around. The $20 word for it is canon, actually. Yeah.
So,
Get it? What? No,
no,
very different. Same principle, different. Okay, don't go there.
Oh no, I heard a song, I was out listening, they played a song on the jukebox, and it was one of the songs that he did on the Taco Bell rant, and then I heard Taco Bell in my head, and I was like, oh my god.
And you were there by earworm, right? There you go. All right, so now time to show you what all the major seconds are. So, okay, I'll sing a measure back, you sing a measure back, and then there are times when I will sing 2 measures back, and you sing 2 measures back. So I'm going to start right at the beginning. I'm a quarter note. 1, 2, listen, repeat. Do, re, re, do, re, do, re, do. Oh, come on. See what happens when you go away from do? Oh God, I know where I am. Yes, you do. We just went up from where we were before. Okay. Start at measure 3. Re, mi,
Re,
mi, re,
mi, re,
re, mi, re,
re, mi, re,
Oh, sorry, I lost track right there. Ta,
Now listen. Re, do, do, re. Listen. Re, do, do. That's it. Okay. Now, that's half the major seconds. That's half of them. All right? Now, tell me, all right, what is the structure of this chart? What's the structure of this chart? Nope. Well, think about this. There are nothing but major seconds in this whole bloody thing. All based on whole steps, in other words.
Whole tone scale.
Whole tone scale, exactly. This is, now, we don't talk much about whole tone scales except in Music 106, which incidentally I am teaching in the fall. Now, here's the thing. If you were to take the scale that this entire chart is based upon, this is what you get. In order for it to be diatonic, all right? Now, here's what it sounds like. Right. Now, here's an important question. Does this end in the same place it starts?
Wait.
Does it end in the same place it starts? Okay. In what respect?
Because you're starting at C and ending at C.
Oh, no, I am not ending at C.
It ends in the same sound, but it's not the same name. It's the end.
Right, okay. We are ending with the same sound,
But not the same.
but
Not the same pitch.
it is not the same pitch.
Right.
This is C, this is B sharp.
Right.
That's why this scale, strictly speaking, is theoretical. Because, by definition, a scale must begin and end in the exact same place. Okay. Now, the thing is, here's something that I can demonstrate in here that I can't demonstrate in room in M232B, which is, somebody already mentioned this. Isn't that what we normally associate with whole tone scales? Yeah, dreaming. Space, right? Well, that's the whole tone scale, and normally played on a vibraphone with the pedal down. That's where it comes from. Yeah, trade secrets are out. That's where it comes from.
That's what Samantha switches them over.
Right.
No. That was a xylophone and it was a different pattern. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that series. See, you think I don't know about this stuff?
Oh, we know we do.
Yeah. All right. Now, okay, turn the page. Now, there are exactly 2 whole tone scales. This is one, here's the other. That's the other one. And again, the spellings of the pitches really don't matter, because here's the thing. No matter where you start this scale, you will get the same sounds. No matter where you start this scale, you will get the same sounds. If I were to start this one on F, G, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp. Same sounds as... Okay, that's how whole tone scales work. All right, now, let's speed this up a little bit. Let's do the major seconds on part 2 here. Now again, we're gonna start with sharps going up. We're gonna use flats coming down. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 1. Listen, repeat. D, re, D, re, re, D, re, D, re. I'm sorry. Re, 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 D. Re, ma, ma, re, ma, re, re, ma, ma, re, re, ma, ma, re, me, fa, fa, me, me, fa, me, fa, sol, sol, fa, fa, sol, sol, fa, sol, la, sol, sol, la, sol, la, ti, ti, la, la, ti, ti, la, ti, bi, ti, ti, now, I forgot to add one, which is this. De, ra, 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 de, ra, de, ti, la, na, ti, la, sol, sol, la, sol, sol, la, sol, fa, fa, sol, sol, fa, sol, fa, me, fa, me, fa, ma, re, re, ma, ma, re, ma, me, ra, ra, me, ra, me, ra. Yeah, I put those extra ones into the audio drills, but they didn't make it into this, so I've got to revise this and get you the correct copy. Okay, now, that's all the major seconds, every single bloody one of them, all the possible syllable combinations, all right? So these are the first ones to work on, okay? Now, Still have time. Yeah, still have time. Good. All right. Questions on the pitch here? You're sounding good. That has me wondering why more of you aren't in choir, actually. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. For the audio files. If for some reason you want AIFs rather than MP3s, let me know and I will find a way to get them to you. Okay. But generally speaking, MP3s are more portable. They take up less room on the server, which is why I posted those. Yeah.
I got like 2 announcements. The first one is I sent everyone an email with the in-schools and the key signatures. And the second one is I found the book online for free. So if you want the book, please let me know so I can see it next time we'll go to service.
Was everything else
For free or are you
This is brand new, so
I don't have the 9th edition, I have the 8th edition.
Oh.
If you want the 9th edition, you get the 9th edition. I couldn't find the 9th edition, so I have the 8th edition.
Oh.
And you said the 8th edition was okay.
Okay, the 8th edition will suffice. Yeah.
What edition is that?
This is the 9th edition. I have an 8th edition.
It's on our website.
This stuff is organized differently, and there are some new things in the 9th edition that are not in the 8th edition. So I have to go through painstakingly and figure out which items are in which book, so that when I give you stuff to do in class, and we do them together, I have to give you, well, 9th edition, it's this one, 8th edition, it's this one. I'm still, just started working on that. Yes, ma'am.
Is that book on its way to
It will be by the time I get down there.
Okay, so in other words, then it'll be okay if I wait till they...
Yeah, we've got plenty to do.
Okay.
We've got plenty to do. Okay, you have a question? No, okay. That looked like a hand raise. You know, we're trained to notice these things. Okay. Anyway, all right. Now, the whole business of capturing sounds as they go by. All right. Let's start with rhythm. Okay. Because pitch, you need to do more. You need to do more work with the intervals before I want to start messing with that. I'll leave you some of this stuff up here. All right. Incidentally, I went to the musictheory.net site, and he's taken down the classic version that has the thing that tells you what the trainer that got wrong, the stuff you got wrong and why it was wrong and all that kind of thing. All right. Now, I can email him and find out if that's still available somehow, and if that's true, I'll let you know, because once upon a time, you could download this whole thing and have it resident on your hard drive, once upon a time. Now, I'll see if maybe on one of my old hard drives I've got this, in which case I will make it available to you, because there's a good chance I still have it somewhere. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay. Now, in terms of capturing sounds as they go by, this is a whole different skill set from reading stuff and turning it into sound. Okay. So, this system of the tick line and marking it up, this is the first step towards capturing sounds as they go by. Now, we're going to do one measure at a time, and we're going to do several different examples. Now, the thing is, these are all going to come from the charts that I have just handed out. Because what we're going to do is we're going to work whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, and their respective rests only. Right? Now, what I want to do is show you how to go about thinking about this, because the first reaction that normally happens when people are asked to write down music is sheer terror and panic. Oh God, how am I going to get this? It's too hard for me. I'm going into nursing. Anyway. So, my job is to fix that and to give you a system. All right. Now, let's say you hear something like this. Listen. Ta, ta, ta. Do it. Ready? Go. Ta, ta, ta. All right. Now, how many different sounds did you hear?
3.
3. Okay. now, do it again. Ready? Go.
Ta, ta, ta.
All right, now, where did those sounds fall? Just tell me where the sounds fell. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
1, 3, and 4.
1, 3, and 4. Okay, do it again. Verify that. 2, ready, go.
Ta, ta, ta.
All right, now, were they all the same length?
No.
No. All right. Which one was different?
The first one.
First one. Okay, so do it once more. We know the first one is different. Do it once more. Ready, go.
Ta, ta, ta.
How long was the first one?
2.
2 beats. Okay, so 2 beats, like so. Do it once more. Verify it. Ready, go.
Ta, ta, ta.
Got it. Now, translate this into notation. What should I have?
Half
note. 2 quarter notes. We have just captured those sounds in writing. Okay? Now, let's try something else. Try this one. Ready? Listen. Ta, ta.
Ta, ta.
Once more. Go. Okay, yeah. Okay. 1, 2, listen, repeat. Ta, ta.
Ta, ta.
All right, now, how many sounds did you hear?
2.
Okay. Where did those sounds fall?
Second and third.
2 and 3. All right. So only 2 sounds. You heard them on 2 and 3.
Yes.
Therefore, what does that and that have to be?
One and four rest.
Silence. Okay. Reading. 2, ready, go.
Ta, ta.
Translated into notation.
Quarter rest, quarter note, quarter rest.
There you go. All right. Questions on how we arrived at that? This is how you have to think about it. Number of sounds in a measure. Where do the sounds fall? How long are they? 3 steps. How many sounds? Let's codify it, as a matter of fact. 1. How many sounds? Where do they fall? And number 3, how long are they? Okay. You can answer all those 3 questions. That's taking rhythm from dictation. That's what it entails. Okay. Now, we're not doing anything complicated yet, but this is the essence of it. This is the essence of it. All right, let's try one more. One more single measure. Go. Listen and repeat. Ready? Listen. Ta. Ta.
Ta. Ta.
Once more. 2. Ready? Go.
Ta. Ta.
All right. How many sounds did you hear?
2.
2. All right. Where did they fall?
1 and 4.
1 and 4. Okay. 1 and 4. There are only 2 sounds. So again, a certain logic that goes with this. There are only 2 sounds on 1 and 4. So what goes on in 2 and 3?
Rest.
Silence. Okay. Now, turn it into notation.
Quarter
note.
Quarter rest. Quarter rest.
Okay. Now, who said half rest? Okay. Is that permissible?
No.
No. Why?
It doesn't balance out.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If this were a half note, yes, you could do that. With rests, however, and this is specifically with rests. Ross's rules of rhythmic regularity. Integrity of the tuples. What does that mean? Bingo. Okay, those of you in Music 100 got this pounded into you last semester. All right. So.
What is it? I'm sorry.
Okay. The principle here is integrity of the tuples. That is, where rests are concerned, a 4/4 measure must be visible as 2 beats plus 2 beats. Must be visible as 2 beats plus 2 beats. Now, if we put a half rest in there, now strictly speaking, oh yeah, that's 2 beats rest, and that's a half rest, so what's the problem? Well, problem is, that divides this 4/4 measure into 1 plus 2 plus 1. 4/4 time must always divide into 2 plus 2, visually. Visually. Therefore, you never see that in the middle of a measure. You may use a half rest at the beginning of a measure, you may use a half rest at the end of a measure. You may not use it over beats 2 and 3. You must use order rest, because when you do that, then that is clearly a unit of 2, that is clearly a unit of 2. That is in no textbook, but it is a principle of notation. Ignore it at your peril in the studio or elsewhere. So get used to doing this, okay? Right. So that's the correct notation for this. All right. Now, you'll notice, these 3 measures that we worked with, they're all in the chart I handed out today, every single one of them. All right, look them up. If you don't believe me, you'll find them. That's on page 1, that's on page 3. Both of these are on page 3. Okay, as a matter of fact, this one follows this one. Okay, so they're all there. All right. So then the idea is to reach a point where you can do more than one measure at a time. Right. Now, the other thing is, if you learn, and I really mean learn these rhythms, as opposed to simply mindlessly memorizing them, from the standpoint of, oh, well, we're going to have this on the test, so I got to know these, and then you immediately do a core memory dump after the exam. No. Can't do core memory dumps in theory, because all theory study is cumulative. Exactly. Okay, I'm going to keep pounding on that. So, let's try. Let's do it. No, can't. Okay. All right. Tomorrow, we will start working with half steps. I will have for you one of the audio drill scores, so that you see what that's going to entail. We're going to start working with both flavors of half steps. What we know is diatonic half steps, chromatic half steps, and there are a lot of them. Okay, so that's what we're going to work with. That is in the packet that I handed out. And we'll also start fooling around with longer rhythmic dictation and do some of these other things. Now, whole steps and half steps allow you to start dealing with major scales, because after all, what is a major scale but a string of whole steps and half steps in a certain order, right? Okay, so see if you have any better luck getting onto Canvas. One of the things that you need to know about Canvas, your username is your email address before the @ccp.edu. If you put in the @ccp.edu, it will kick it out. So you only use all the stuff before the @ sign. That is your username. Okay. And the same password that you would normally use. That should do it. If it doesn't do it, 215-751-6000 is the help desk.
It worked the same way to me today.
What's that?
It worked, it seemed like it worked the same way as far as the emails concerned.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same sound.
Okay, all right. But the idea is see how you do in terms of downloading this stuff, the stuff I've put up. And I will be able to see if you got on or not. There is no hiding from me. Pardon? I can't hear you. 215-751-6000 is the help desk number for students.
Okay? So,
Very important. All right, this is typical of what we're gonna be doing for now the next 7 weeks, so get used to it. Yeah, going from there. We'll see you tomorrow.
Everybody, I sent y'all the email on camera, so you have to.
Yeah, no, check line.
Well, I'm going to Mrs. Jackson, I want to check out Mrs. Jackson because I've never been there, so I'm going to open mic night tonight in the cover room. I don't know if yours is, I've never been there, so I'm gonna check it out, and if I'm comfortable with it. Yeah, I don't know. I was at the gym. Work, so I don't want to watch it. Like, if I should have ready for it, then well, the reason, if I like it, then I'm sure I'm going.
That's